1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network present Dallas Cowboys Football 2023.
And Prescott walks the dog. Touchdown Cowboys.
In crystal clear HD stereo. Today's pregame show is brought to you by
Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. Arrow Exterminators, official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Buffalo Wild Wings. Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com.
Now, here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
It's here, Broaddus. It is here. Cowboy Game Day, the first one of the 2023 season right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. It is great to have you in, and it is time for the official pregame party to start. 877-881-1053, Cowboys-Giants, NFC East, Sunday Night Football. It doesn't get much better than this. We've seen so much sloppy football today. What do we expect for tonight? How are you preparing your mind and body for tonight's kickoff? Already getting flooded here at 469. We got Mike in Caddo Mills. He's drinking on his Miller Lite. He's cooking the enchiladas, and he's ready to open up the season. Good vibes in the air. Carpe Omnia is the phrase of the season, right? That's
seize everything.
Seize it all. We seize it all. Seizing it all starts tonight. Broaddus, this is exciting, man. This is very exciting. What have you seen today, and what are you projecting out for tonight when it comes to the Cowboys? So much that we've already understood in terms of what Tony Pollard's going to get involved in, some news that has gotten down today in regards to the offense and where it's headed there. So I'm looking forward to unpacking it. But in regards to tonight's game, how you feeling, man?
Well, first off, it's great to be with you, Eric, for another season as we kick this thing off.
Likewise, sir. Thank you.
The journey that we're about to be on. Hopefully, it's a fruitful one that we get to do. There's so much unknown when you go into the season. You don't really know about how things might play out, how your drives might play out. There's things you worked on during practice. There's things you worked on during training camp to try and kind of prepare to get yourself. You're kind of worried about your players, especially your starters. A lot of them haven't played entire games, and this will be that first opportunity for them to do that. You worry about conditions, you worry about rain, you worry about you worry about nerves. You've got some guys involved. You're going to have some young players involved for both teams tonight, and you just don't know really how they're going to perform until the game actually kicks off. Veteran quarterback for both teams. Both teams offensively, I feel like they would like to try and establish a little bit of a running game, with what they do, especially with the Giants. I think the Giants, it really is more, it helps them even more than the Cowboys. I think if you just said, looking at quarterback for quarterback, that Dak Prescott clearly the better quarterback in this matchup, but Daniel Jones has improved. I think there's questions about, what's going to happen at left guard. To me, I just feel like that Adoga is going to be the starter there at left guard.
Yeah, and for Tyler Smith.
Tyler Smith is not going to be able to make this game, but Tyron Smith should be able to play there at left tackle. So, but not having Tyler Smith in there at left guard, there's some concern just because of how good that the Giants are when it comes to their defensive tackles. As they line up, they're a difficult group to block. It's a physical group up front. There's a lot of mass, a lot of power. The Cowboys are going to need to find ways that if they are going to run the ball, to be able to control those inside players for the Giants. And I'm talking about Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. But Bobby Olereke, too, the linebacker who came over from the Colts, is a tackling machine. And so, those are the three inside. It's always about the triangle, the guards, the two centers, and then you look at the inside three for the defense. If you can control the inside three, you could have a pretty successful offense.
All right, 877-881-1053. Join the conversation here on your home of the Cowboys, the official pregame show of America's team. We're on Twitch and YouTube there with the fan cam as well. Shout out to Brandon in Fort Worth, hyped up, ready to run through a wall for these Cowboys in the 575. We got the 469 laying in a hospital bed, listening to us right now on the pregame show, waiting on the Cowboys' start to that Super Bowl run. And that's the beauty of right now, man. The positivity's in the air. We are all trafficking in hope in very, very large fashion right now for every team, every city, unless you're, I don't know, maybe you're the Bengals today and you don't feel quite the same after what just took place over the course of 3 hours versus those Browns. But nonetheless, everybody's feeling pretty good about it. 940 while drinking a Miller Lite, the official beer of the Cowboys, thanking Tony Pollard because of the inclement weather is about to have a big game. I saw Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero talking this morning, and they were discussing the Cowboys. 18 to 20 touches is apparently what the Cowboys are looking to see from Tony Pollard. 18 to 20 touches. Does that feel good to you?
It feels like to me that even if it was inclement weather, that we would see more Cowboy running backs with opportunities to run the ball. I think the Giants would rely on Saquon Barkley just to handle the load. And be able to do that. I think that would be I think that's the way they're playing. But for the Cowboys, I think they'll spread it out. With Pollard, I hope those touches also include some type of getting him in space, whether it's that screen,
I believe it does,
or the motion and then the quick screens or anything like that to get him to evolve the swings, the wheels, something. The Texas route where you go up and then back to the outside, inside. Anything to get him on linebackers in space or get him on a safety in space, I think is the way to go in this football game. But yeah, if it's only like 16 or 18 touches, I would feel that's a little light myself.
18 to 20 was the number they said coming into this one on NFL Network, so it'll be something to monitor. He did that. He had over 18 touches last year on 5 occasions.
Yeah.
So he's done it before, and now he's the man, so he's going to have to be that guy, at least on first and second down. It looks like Rico Dowdle's going to get a lot of the load on third down.
Yeah, that's, Rico Dowdle is the best of the blitz pickup guys. And then you also have to think about, how much do you want to use Deuce Vaughn potentially in this football game.
And they mentioned packages, some Deuce Vaughn packages. So I am interested to see how they incorporate him, and is he going to be a focal point on those plays or a little bit more of a decoy? What's the plan? But first and second down, I'm expecting a lot of Pollard, and then third down, a lot of Dowdle, and then they'll just mix and match in there with Deuce.
Don't be surprised if you see Deuce with also, with Pollard in the backfield at the same time.
Okay, I like that.
Maybe that, you use the one thing that they could do is they can throw the ball to Deuce Vaughn. The thing you don't want him having to do is blitz pickup.
Right.
But if you just go with Deuce Vaughn on third down and you're the Giants, you're Wink Martindale, I'm blitzing you. I'm making Deuce Vaughn have to block is what I'm going to do.
Is there okay, so I always find that to be interesting where it's like, okay, Wink Martindale saying I'm going to force Deuce Vaughn to block, but
to stay in.
On the other side of it, couldn't you just say I'm the Cowboys and I'm going to force you to whatever guy you thought was going to be blitzing now has to worry about Deuce Vaughn out of the backfield because Deuce Vaughn's a weapon.
Well, that's the whole the idea is though the reason you're blitzing is you're trying to bring more than they can block. They're trying to bring more than the offense can block. So if you all of a sudden Dak has got to know that if there is a situation where Deuce is in the backfield and he's got to swing, it's got to go fast. The ball's got to.
It would have to be super quick.
It's going to have to be probably to the side of the blitzer, and then over the top of the blitzer to get him out into space.
Gotcha.
Is what you're going to have to do.
Not something you can really live on.
Throughout
4 quarters.
What you do though if you hit a couple of plays where you're throwing hot off that. And usually if you throw into the teeth of a blitz, you can make big plays off that. So to me, I would keep on. They do not want Deuce Vaughn blocking. They just don't. The Giants would love to see him blocking because that is an advantage for the Giants. That's something that Deuce Vaughn doesn't do a whole heck of a lot of. Didn't do a whole heck of a lot of that at Kansas State. It was hand him the ball, throw him the ball.
Yeah. Otherwise he's kind of getting out of the way there.
Exactly.
Okay, so what have you noticed from the Giants here? Obviously, this being the first game, they've added some new pieces offensively and defensively.
Where do you want to start?
I was going to ask you what's the more interesting side of the ball for this team?
I think what they've done on the skill side of it is really interesting to me. The addition with Isaiah Hodgins, and then you look at Darius Slayton has been there. Paris Campbell, who they got from the Colts, is a nice player, inside slot player. That's what they're going to use him as. He is going to be that guy that's going to, we'll see Bland on the matchup there. Don't be surprised if you see Paris Campbell line up in the backfield. Maybe use him much like where the Cowboys use Turpin. That they use him as a mismatch player. That you have Saquon Barkley and then a little bit of Paris Campbell. Fake the ball to Saquon, hand the ball to Paris Campbell. A lot of the Giants are big on misdirection stuff. They're going to send your eyes one way, and then they're going to bring the ball back the other. So Cowboys have got to be a little bit disciplined the way they play today.
Do you expect them to open it up? Like you mentioned, obviously Darren Waller, they draft Speedster.
Yeah, he's a little nicked up.
He is. Yeah.
We'll see how much he could play. I mean, the thing with Darren Waller is, here he is, a guy that he comes in, and if you talk to people, the Giants, that hamstring issue that came up on Friday that landed him on the injury report, that was a surprise. That was a surprise to them. And they might, and we'll see today how effective that he really, really is. They don't want this thing to turn into a long-term deal. They don't want it to turn, so maybe if he goes out there, wet conditions and all that, maybe he's in a situation where, we don't really want to play this guy.
Don't want to push it too much.
Yeah, we don't want to push this too much.
Yeah, how effective will Darren Waller be is certainly a huge question because he's probably their biggest offseason acquisition, certainly offensively, and he's one of the best tight ends in the league when healthy, but it's a bit of a rarity throughout his career. And now all of a sudden, as you mentioned, he pops up on the injury report Thursday, Friday with a little hamstring situation. Similar with the Cowboys. It's like, here's Tyron Smith in the middle of the work week. He's got an ankle. Tyler Smith with the hamstring. It's frustrating. But Darren Waller will be suiting up and giving it a go. We'll see how effective he is going to be. But do you anticipate this offense, like Dable and these guys, to open it up more? Because last year it was just so they're dumbing it down and trying to make it as easy on Daniel Jones as possible. Not too much in the way of weapons. Here's Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones will use your legs, but we want to get you out of the pocket. Simple reads. Let's make it as easy on you as possible and go try to win the game by scoring like 19 points. Do you expect that to be different tonight?
Yeah, I do expect that to be different. I think the ball, I think with these receivers, and especially with the addition of Jalen Hyatt, because there's going to be I believe a lot of deeper crossing routes. With the Giants, it seemed like all their skill guys last year were slot players. So everything was kind of underneath, and it was just kind of a little bit of run after catch. Yeah. I feel like this is going to be more like, okay, we're going to take some more chances down the field with Hodgins and with Hyatt, Slayton. I feel like the ball they're going to try and get that ball down the field more. The one thing I could say with Hyatt, he could really, really run. And if you watch him, they can max that thing up and launch that thing and see if Diggs can keep up with him. I think that's the one matchup that they would really like.
Cowboys Nation, come out early to the Miller Lite House, the pregame gathering destination on the West Plaza of the stadium. Miller Lite is the only beer of the Cowboys, and we invite all Cowboys fans to join us for a great tailgate event. Sample some great seltzer brands as well, like Vizzy Hard Seltzer, the official hard seltzer of the Cowboys, and the official beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite is being drank all across the state right now as people are texting in all the way. Goat Neck, Texas, drinking some Miller Lite.
Goat Neck,
Texas.
All right.
They're fixing to grill a porterhouse. They're drinking some Miller Lite by the pool, ready to watch the Cowboys crush it, man. So much excitement right now. Cowboys-Giants coming up Sunday Night Football. It is a Cowboy game day. No place we'd rather be than right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Just getting started. We'll welcome in NBC's Rodney Harrison coming up live from Metlife Stadium here in just a few minutes, but also the player profile of the week with the Hall of Famer Chris Arnold. Let's hang out with DeMarcus Lawrence coming up next right here on The Fan.
Spurs assistant coach Becky Hammond on inspiration.
I hope it's an inspiration to girls out there, being the first woman to coach an NBA team.
Enter today.
All right, the defense here for these Cowboys is obviously headlining the show. These guys are monsters. DeMarcus Lawrence is about to be hanging out with the Hall of Famer Chris Arnold for today's player profile, Broaddus, and I got a feeling DeMarcus Lawrence is in store for what's going to be a big night. He tore up Evan Neal last year as a rookie, the right tackle, and Micah Parsons had his way with Andrew Thomas, the left tackle, who's one of the best in the sport. Micah was like, yeah, I want the best, and DeMarcus Lawrence dominated Neal. It was beautiful. I think he's in store for another one tonight.
Yeah, and I'll tell you where I feel like that maybe Tank will have even more productivity than playing on the outside, playing as the edge, because I feel like he's going to play well in the run. I think that's going to be really important for the Cowboys, for him to play well in the run. But when you kick him inside and he could play next to him and Osa, maybe on nickel situations, because the Giants are struggling inside with a rookie center. There's some talk about, really what's going to go on at guard. They're not really sure, the Giants, early in the season, if they've, they got the right combination. But I think Tank, when you put him in those situations where he's close to the ball, close to where the quarterback is, that's when he thrives a little bit. So keep an eye on him tonight, having some productivity as that under tackle or that three technique on the outside shoulder of one of these Giants guards.
I love that. Tank's he's flourished there quite a bit, especially with Dan Quinn moving guys around and finding advantageous matchups for guys to take advantage of. And Tank's such a beast, and the versatility to go in and out that way is wonderful. And I wonder if even a guy like Osa is in store for a huge night as well.
I think.
I mean, because aren't they going to be so concerned with the edge guys? Oh my gosh, here's Micah Parsons coming off the edge, and with what the Cowboys can do that way. The inside, as you mentioned, where they're vulnerable, that's where Osa and if Tank's getting kicked inside, they should be able to be all up in Daniel Jones's face.
You're absolutely right. I just feel like, though, that to me, the three inside, we'll see if it could be a rough night for these inside players for the Giants. If they're having to deal with Hankins, with Osa, we'll see what Mozzie Smith's able to do in this situation as well. Hopefully he'll have some productive snaps tonight for you, and everybody can feel good about what he's doing as a contributor.
Okay, former Super Bowl champion, NBC's Rodney Harrison, going to be joining us here in just a few minutes live from Metlife Stadium. But let's go ahead and get today's player profile with Chris Arnold, the three-time Hall of Famer, standing by with DeMarcus Lawrence.
And joining us today is DeMarcus Tank Lawrence. Tank, how you doing, buddy?
All is well. How we doing?
Man, getting ready for this Giants game tonight. I know you're looking forward to them again, but this is the start of the season as well. How fired up are you guys for the start of the season? Because it seems the fan base really, really like all of the offseason moves that the Cowboys have made, and it looks like this might be one great season.
Yeah, man, we definitely stoked about the season. We put in a lot of hard work over these last couple of weeks in training camp and back here in Frisco, and, definitely ready to get after the Giants tonight.
Let's talk about Mozzie Smith, the rookie edition. We know he's not necessarily going to start, but I heard this dude is strong. I heard he can lift and he can throw people around. Can you talk about your impressions of Mozzie Smith up there in the middle?
I feel like Mozzie was a great pick for us as a rookie, and, him coming in and showing his strength and his tenacity to get up the field and, get after people is definitely a sight to see. So, I know the fan base gonna definitely enjoy it tonight, and we're gonna get on the show.
Also, Jonathan Hankins, he had an off season with you guys and learned some more about DQ's system. Can you talk about between those two guys allowing the rest of you guys to eat? And I say this because somebody had to stop that run just a little bit better. You were doing it by yourself for years now.
Yeah, man, Big Hank is definitely a big plus for us for stopping the run, plugging up the middle, and keeping our linebackers safe. I feel like he's going to do a great job tonight. I feel like you're going to see a lot of him and Mozzie Smith. You ain't got to worry about that interior run.
I always said I love the safeties, I love the secondary, and I love Donovan Wilson. But I didn't like him leading the team in tackles. I'm like, wait a minute, that means we weren't getting enough pressure on the run.
Who, Dono?
Yeah, because that means he's making them tackles not in the backfield, he's making them down the field.
Yeah, man, but you never know what Dono at, man. Dono is like the black horse. Like, and he'd be everywhere on the field. So definitely shout out to Dono.
Yeah, he got to get back soon. We got to have him back in the lineup. He's injured.
And yeah, man, we're gonna have a lot of fun. But I'm gonna definitely rack up my tackles while he's not here.
Okay, so who's the bigger concern for you? Is I'm talking about you personally because your job, edge rusher. Is it Danny Dimes or is it Saquon Barkley, the quarterback or the running back?
You say who's the bigger issue
for you personally?
For me personally,
your assignment for tonight.
All seriousness, I think my biggest thing is me against me. So if I'm taking care of what I have to take care of, focusing on my keys, it won't lead me wrong, and I'll be able to make all the plays that I should make.
Basically, you're saying you got to play your game. You got to let the game come to you, and you will make your adjustments.
Absolutely. You got to understand, I've been playing the game a little longer than them, so it's like, I know what to do. I just got to go out there and do it.
Let's talk about Micah Parsons. We're talking about Donovan Wilson being all over the field. Micah Parsons lines up all over the field. Can you talk about, now that you've seen him for a few years and people are trying to figure out how great this guy really is, can you talk about him and your relationship with him?
Yeah, man, Micah has grown a lot over the last 3 years. I feel like, him being in the DQ system and being able to actually grow in it and, be able to move around and learn every position even made him, more stronger this year, especially with this experience from last year of playing a whole year of D-line, understanding, the different block combinations and the different sets he's going to get now. I feel like he's going to transform into the guy that y'all going to really know as Micah Parsons.
And finally, how did you prepare for this evening's game? What's your typical routine in the hotel or pregame on a nighttime game, like a Sunday night game? What do you do that you have to have in your routine?
I have to have rest, first and foremost. Get a little breakfast, move around a little bit, stretch, do a little yoga, take a nap, get on the bus, throw some young boy on, and then about it, we in there.
That'll work. Good luck tonight against those Giants. Appreciate you, Tank.
All right, love. Peace.
Thank you, Tank. Thank you, Chris. That is today's player profile here on the official pregame show of America's Team, brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. Cowboys at Giants coming down Sunday night football tonight, right here on your home of the Cowboys, NBC. We'll have the telecast, and we'll get with NBC's Rodney Harris live from MetLife Stadium here in just a few minutes. Super Bowl champion, looking forward to getting his thoughts on tonight's matchup, this season, and rocking and rolling.
Yeah, Rodney Harrison, one of the all-time greats when you start to talk about guys around the ball, physicality and stuff. He's been in a few of these wars himself, and I'm excited to hear what his thoughts are about the Cowboys defense and how he thinks they'll perform tonight.
And you heard Tank there talking about Micah, and obviously Micah is one of the biggest monsters in all of the sport. What a blessing it's been since the day he got drafted here to the Cowboys. Are you anticipating the most dominant Micah season yet? Because he's just now getting into the prime of his career.
Added body armor, added knowledge of how to break tackles down. I think that's the thing that you got to look forward to the most about Mike. Everything's been good so far.
All right, let's get to a Super Bowl champion, NBC's Rodney Harrison, live from MetLife Stadium. Rodney, thanks for the time, sir. How are you? Welcome back to football.
Man, absolutely. I'm excited about it. What's going on, fellas?
Oh, not too much, dude. We're fired up. Sunday night football is always the place to be, especially when the Cowboys are involved. What stands out to you about this matchup tonight? I know when you look at the Giants, do you still have a little PTSD with these Giants every time you see them, or is that far gone now?
No, not at all, bro. It's all nothing but respect, man. The thing that stands out to me is just the quarterbacks. Obviously, Brian Daboll has done such a great job with Daniel Jones, improving his game and really bringing his game to a forefront in Dallas. I look at Dak Prescott. People criticize Dak, man. I still got a lot of respect for Dak. He's a tremendous leader. I think he's a really good football player, and I think that he can lead them deep into the playoffs.
Rodney, you've played in a lot of these opening day games in NFL. What's the one thing that concerns you as a player? Because we see players that don't play all the preseason. You guys used to play in preseason all the time. Now we don't see starters go as much. What do you worry about today as you get ready for this game?
Well, just sloppy play, and that's one of the things that I noticed watching the 1 o'clock games. A lot of really sloppy offensive play. The offensive line is struggling. Quarterbacks are running around. Guys are slipping. You worry about injuries, but really just not being on point, and that's something that really concerns me. Not playing in the not playing in the preseason. I really enjoy playing in the preseason. That was something that I really look forward to. I felt like in order for me to have confidence going into the regular season, I needed those reps. It gave me a chance to really communicate with my teammates and really bond with my teammates.
So whenever you look at this Cowboys offense, you mentioned Dak Prescott, Tony Pollard now the lead back in the backfield. They add Brandon Cooks. What are you trying to stop first if you're a defense looking at this Cowboy offense right now?
Well, you always have to stop the run first. That is definitely an area of concern. But also, you look at their passing game, and they have some veteran wide receivers. You look at Michael Gallup, another year coming off that injury. CeeDee Lamb is one of the top 3 or 4 slot receivers in all of football. Just tough as nails, not afraid to come across the middle. It just gets it done. And Brandon Cooks is a guy that's been really consistent throughout his career, providing that deep threat, but also just providing that veteran experience, man. That's going to be the challenge tonight for the New York Giants and their young cornerback core.
Yeah, Rodney, you mentioned that, and you talked about you have the respect for Dak Prescott. And, here in the Dallas market, his interceptions get just, magnified. Everybody's expecting, oh, well, here it goes again type of a situation. When you get to sit down and watch Dak, did you feel like there were times where Dak was it his fault or was it receiver's fault?
It doesn't matter. Let me just tell you this. Go out in the open market and try to find somebody better than Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Try that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to happen. You're not going to find a guy like Dak Prescott. I'm talking about everything, the complete package, a guy that's a leader, a good person, a guy that you can count on, cares about his teammates. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and it's hard playing quarterback in the National Football League. Trust me. I played with Ryan Leaf, who's considered the biggest bust in the NFL, and I played with the greatest to ever play in Tom Brady. And I know Dak has a lot of those characteristics that Tom Brady has as far as the preparation, unselfishness, and just all the hard work. So they can say whatever they want in the market, in the Dallas market about Dak Prescott, but at the end of the day, this is a guy that I do believe can lead them deep into the playoffs, possibly the Super Bowl, and I think he's a winner, man. I have a lot of respect for that young man.
Rodney Harrison, Super Bowl champion, NBC's own Rodney Harrison with us here on the official pregame show of America's Team, getting you set for Cowboys and Giants. We were just discussing Micah Parsons before you hopped on. I mean,
beast. My
gosh, dude. How do you get better than what he already is?
Bro, let me tell you something. When coming in this league, I had an opportunity to play against some great players. And to really, guys that really stand out to me, Lawrence Taylor, J.J. Watt was a guy that just absolutely dominated. And you kind of wait, okay, who's going to be that next J.J. Watt? And it's Micah Parsons. I mean, just a guy, watching tape on him, the thing that really inspires me about him is just the effort, the consistent effort that he gives on every single play. Now, we know that he's a freak athlete. He's fast, he's athletic, and all those different things. But the effort, the leadership, and him wanting to be the very best, that's the thing that gets me excited. And I know he was extremely happy with Joey Bosa getting $170 million because guess what? He deserves at least $171 million. So, Jerry Jones, get ready to open up that checkbook.
Yeah, absolutely. We could see a $35 million a year player other than a quarterback. That would be outstanding.
Oh, yeah, it's happening.
It's going to happen, no question.
Oh, it's going to happen. You don't worry about that.
Absolutely. Rodney, when you look at Dallas's defense, we just talked about Micah. Are there other players there, a Leighton Vander Esch, a Tank Lawrence? Is there somebody else that caught your eye when you started prepping for this game on the Cowboy defense that you feel like could have a big day today?
Man, just all those guys, and really J-Ron Curse, he was a guy that, was a special teamer, and I told him last time I saw him, I think the Dallas Cowboys played against Minnesota. I think that's where it was at, and I just told him, I said, man, I'm extremely proud of you. You're a special teamers. Now you have an opportunity to play. He's played well. Dan Quinn has done such a wonderful job of using the 3 safety look and just, giving these guys freedom, and that's what we love as deep, in terms of our defensive coordinators. You recognizing our ability and allowing us to go out there and just flat out play football, and that's what Dan Quinn has done. I mean, I think, you start talking about the best defensive coordinators, you have to put him right there at the top.
Yeah, no question. He's been a savior since the day he got here for this Cowboys defense. It's been amazing. And then now
he just walked past me too. He's sitting on the bench. I get a chance to see him. He was the head coach for Atlanta, and I lived in Atlanta, so I have just a lot of respect for Dan and what he's been able to accomplish.
I've never heard anybody say a negative syllable about Dan the man and the coach. So co-sign that, Rodney. Now they bring in Stephon Gilmore as well. If you feel like if you're a defensive coordinator, like, can you speak to just how amazing it is to be a defensive coordinator and feel confident in both your two outside boundary corners being top flight dudes?
Man, let me tell you this, man. Just when I heard that they signed Stephon Gilmore, I was just so excited because he's a pro. He's very consistent. He's not up and down. He's not too hot, not too cold, and he's gonna impact Trayvon Diggs with his growth and with his maturity because he's just so good and he's so kind of humble and quiet. But he is a baller, man. To be Defensive Player in the Year, I think that was in 2019. The guy can play at a high level, and he's just gonna continue to impact the team. I think they have the best cornerback duo in the NFL.
Rodney, the Mike McCarthy takes over the play calling on the offensive side of the ball for the Cowboys. What do you expect from him? I know he's a veteran at doing this, but getting back in the saddle, how do you think he's going to attack the Giants tonight?
Oh, he's going to run the football. You have to run the football. You have to test the Giants and see if they can stop the run, and that's what I like about Mike McCarthy. He's going to give you some old-fashioned football, pound it. You're paying a lot of money on your offensive line and make those young men earn that money. But yeah, running the football, play action pass, and really taking some pressure off Dak Prescott. Where Kellen Moore is a young guy, and of course, he wants to put up all these numbers and he wants to throw the football all over the place because eventually he wants to become a head coach, and that's how you become a head coach as a young offensive coordinator, put up a lot of numbers and points. But I think he's going to get back to the strength of using the run game, play action pass, taking some shots, and really taking some pressure off of Dak Prescott. I think Dak will definitely benefit from having Mike McCarthy make those calls.
What type of challenges does the Giants offense present? Dable, Kafka, those guys are beasts there schematically, and Daniel Jones with his legs is certainly a threat, and then there's Saquon. They add some speed. What type of threats do they
all
pose?
That what you just said. I mean, the fact that they went out and got a kid like Jalen Hyatt, who played with my son at the University of Tennessee, and this guy has real speed, real football speed. I mean, he can attack the safeties in the deep part of the field, but he's also can take a slant route, like a little 7-yard slant route, and take it 50, 60 yards to the house. But also Saquon Barkley, the impact that Dayball has had on him, allowing him kind of just rejuvenating his career, allowing him to do a lot of the things that he does extremely well in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield and just getting in open space. They have a lot of weapons, and we don't know if Darren Waller is going to play. I mean, he's a big, freakish tight end at 6'6". He can run extremely well and create a lot of mismatches. So just really looking forward to just all the new weapons, all the new speed that the Giants have, and it's definitely going to be a challenge for the Cowboys.
Rodney, as a former safety, how would you play Darren Waller if you had to take him down the field?
Oh, I'm getting in his face because he's such a big, fast, athletic kid. I'm not going to allow him to, I'm not going to play off of him 6 or 7 yards and allow him to get going. Guys like that, you want to get in his face, you want to jam him, you want to slow him down at the line of scrimmage, and even sometimes you might want to put a defensive end over him, and before the defensive end rushes, you might want to get him a little jam, hit him a little bit, and then the safeties can pick him up. But, this guy moves extremely well. You think about the best tight end in the league is Travis Kelce, but this kid, if he can stay healthy, I mean, he's got a promising future, definitely.
And just going up against quarterbacks that are mobile, running quarterbacks like a Daniel Jones, like how much more difficult is it to defend an offense when their quarterback can take off?
Yeah, because you always have to account for him every single play. It's no matter what coverage you can call man-to-man coverage, but you have to keep a spy on him. So if you're spying a quarterback, that means that's one less guy in coverage that can help out in coverage. And these guys, and you can't hit them, and they're fast, and they're smart. And Daniel Jones, he's really done a great job of not just taking off running the first thing that he does. If he's sitting in the pocket and there's a lot of people around his legs, he's sitting there, he's patient. That's what Bryan Dayball has done. He's made him a lot more patient, and then he has the ability to take off, run, make people miss, and he's tough as nails, man. Think about this. I want you guys to watch this. when was the last time you saw Daniel Jones take a big hit and stay on the ground or, slam the football or anything? He takes a shot, he gets up, he jogs back to the huddle. I mean, it's not too many guys as tough as Daniel Jones, man. I have a lot of respect for that young man.
Well, Rodney, we can't thank you enough for the time, my friend. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. There we go. Super Bowl champion NBC's Rodney Harrison as we continue to get you set for Cowboys and Giants Metlife Stadium. We'll be heading out there very, very soon. We'll catch up with Christy Scales, Babe Laufenberg. We got, of course, our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, and he is out there as well. We'll get the Mike McCarthy Coach's Corner with Brad Sham as well, certainly right before kickoff. So much more to get into as we get set for this game. Who's the playmaker offensively that you look to tonight to maybe be the game breaker for the Cowboys? Is it just the default CeeDee Lamb?
No, it's Cooks.
It's Cooks tonight.
Yeah, I think Cooks is with the quarterback situation with the Giants, and especially if the Cowboys get in their 11 personnel and that puts two of the rookie quarterbacks. I think when you start to talk about what the Giants have to do to slow the Cowboys down, Adoree Jackson in the slot, he's going to have to find a way to win. But that puts two rookie quarters on the outside dealing, with Gallup and then also with Cooks. Cooks could have a big day today.
Cook's having a big day. I mean, Lamb in the slot, I think, is an interesting matchup there with Adoree Jackson, and I'm just really excited. Are you more confident in the Cowboy offense today than maybe you thought you were going to be coming into the season after what you've seen?
I'm a little worried about what's going on at left guard. I did not see Adoga. I didn't see a lot of positive plays for him. I hope he proves me wrong and a lot of others, because as a tackle, he was slow-footed. He was getting beat up on the outside. Maybe playing guard will help him, but I just worry about that spot. I think when the strength of the Giants' defense is inside, I worry about them taking advantage of him.
Now, is that more in the run game or the passing game?
Both. Yeah, you got to be able to play with power inside against these guys, but you got to be able to hold up. I worry about him being able to maybe, he doesn't need to be, here's Cowboys, if they make plays, all of a sudden there's a holding call inside. Well, it's going to have to be Broaddus, I think, is going to keep that left eye of his over to that side. He knows Zach Martin can handle what's ever going on the right side by himself. Keep an eye on how much you see Broaddus slide over there and help Adoga in this football game.
Speaking of Zach Martin, friend of the G-Bag Nation, that's right, 2 to 7 weekdays right here on The Fan every Thursday in the usually 4 o'clock hour. Zach Martin weekly hanging out with us in the G-Bag Nation. His first spot with us this past week was fantastic. The personalities coming out of our guy Zach Martin. He hit that 99 on the Madden. He got that 99 Madden rating, and now he's just all giddy. And he got the contract he wanted, so he's all smiles, and hopefully the Cowboys will be all smiles tonight. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys Giants. We continue to get you set. Let's look around the NFL, this division. What are the Eagles doing right now? Coming up next right here on The Fan.
Football fans, do you ever have trouble?
holding his own on the blind side at Dak. Terrence Steele goes down. I know the Adoga issue, but getting Tyron Smith back at left tackle and Terrence Steele back at right tackle, is that putting a warm smile on your face?
Oh no, I will say this about. I felt like that this was a team that was likely going to move on from Tyron Smith. I thought that Tyler Smith played so well at left tackle that I would have just left him there and addressed the guard situation through the draft. I don't know if free agency would have allowed them to go and get somebody, but maybe through the draft they could have drafted a left guard and away they go.
New era on the left side.
Yeah, new era. But Tyron Smith is not the same player he was 3, 4, even 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's dealt with a lot of injuries. I think it's robbed him of some of his agility, some of his athletic ability. The power's always been there. The thing that's been the struggle for Tyron Smith is with the injuries are when there's been times where guys have kind of fallen in the back of his legs and stuff like that. And that's what I worry about somebody like Adoga, being off balance and all of a sudden friendly fire gets Tyron Smith. He's never had any real luck when it comes to some of these injuries that he's had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope that Adoga can hold his own inside. And, it helps when Tyron's not at his absolute best that a guy like Tyler Smith is a powerful player, athletic player, young player that way. They
work in tandem nicely.
And
Steele and Martin.
He could kind of hold things together. And hey, how about this one? New England fought their way back into this game. Right
I know. I was waiting as soon as you finished your thought there. I was going to point to the fact that we got ourselves a football game in Foxborough right now. After the Eagles jumped out 16-0, they got a pick six opportunity. They had Devontae Smith finding the end zone. They get a field goal. Now all of a sudden, you blink your eyes. It's just before halftime. There's Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. So you got yourself a 16-14 situation going on right now. The Eagles not just going to walk away with this one like we thought they were going to in that first quarter. So we'll keep you posted on that for sure. Obviously, so much going on in the division today with the Commanders scraping by. In the G-Bag Nation, we have our survivor picks, and me and Walchuk were both rocking with the Commanders. And it was as stressful as it could possibly be. Welcome back to Survivor Picks in football and bet payoffs. It was stressful. I'm supposed to be enjoying my red zone fun all the while. Sam Howell's dropping balls, and the Commanders are just doing what the Commanders do, which is even when they win, they make it extremely hard on themselves. And we'll see how the Eagles finish out here before half number 2.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to finish up my Tyron Smith thing.
Oh, yeah.
I do believe, though, that, like I say, that with Tyler Smith next to him, you're right. There was such a really nice combination there that, because one of the issues that I think that Tyron Smith has in this day and age is his inability to get inside. And I mean inside when I'm talking about like he's so outside conscious, now with his kick and the slide that he does. And if people take him back inside, you have a guard right there that's kind of able to kind of pick up the pieces.
Yes.
Pick you up if something happens. So I'm going to keep an eye on Ojulari tonight and Thibodeau, those edges for the Giants, especially against Tyron Smith. And his ability to keep guys wide, I think, is fine. I think the inside stuff you're really going to have to watch.
It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. The Cowboys Special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll go behind enemy lines coming up in just a few minutes, live from Metlife Stadium with the voice of the Giants, Mr. Bob Papa. Always a wealth of knowledge. Looking forward to catching up with Bob here in just a few minutes. But around the NFL and around the division, we mentioned the Eagles now in a bit of a tight one, 16-14 with 20 seconds left in half number 1. The Commanders scrape by at home versus the Arizona Cardinals. And then, of course, tonight we get Cowboys and Giants. So Commanders with a victory. We'll see what happens with the Eagles. And then it gets down to the big one tonight. Monday Night Football tomorrow will be Jets and Bills. That'll certainly be fun as an AFC East matchup.
And that might help the Cowboys a little bit, too, with the Jets. Yes, they're playing at home, but a Monday night game with them having to come to AT&T Stadium next Sunday.
A little bit of a short week.
Yeah, a little short week, yeah.
Any advantage we can get over Aaron Rodgers on a week that he is coming to town is an advantage I will take.
Absolutely.
So absolutely there. for sure. Now, when it comes to some other things across the sport today, I mean, a lot of the headlines are Joe Burrow and the Bengals not looking like themselves. 2.8 yards per play today whenever it was Joe Burrow in there. He goes 14 of 31, 82 yards, no touchdowns. Not great. And then Thursday night, you saw the Chiefs kind of struggle a little bit as the lead dog in the league, and especially in the AFC, and they didn't quite look themselves. And then the Bengals really just looked bad for 4 straight quarters. And Jamar Chase was talking trash before the game, the Bengals wide receiver, earlier in the week, talking about going to Cleveland, and he called them elves because they have that elf logo in the middle of their field. He was kind of doing their trash talk, and after the game, he was like, "Man, this sucks. I'm frustrated because I called their rear ends elves, and we just lost to some elves." Yeah. So he's reeling now, and this is a similar start, not quite as bad, but similar start to what the Bengals had last year, and they ended up having obviously a pretty solid season. But Joe Burrow signing the richest contract in the history of the sport and then getting, benched or pulled, whatever, with 4 minutes to go in game number 1 was not something I was anticipating.
No, and it just, Joe dealt with a calf injury really the whole entire preseason, and there were questions, remember early in the conversation with Jamar Chase talking about, well, hey, Joe, if you want to come back week 3, that's okay, get the full bit of rest that you can get. But, we have to remember, too, the Bengals started off 0-2 last year, and then they went on a really nice run. I think they won 8 straight games and were a team that you just absolutely did not want to play towards the end of the year.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's the official pregame show of America's team, getting you set for Cowboys and Giants. Let's go out to MetLife Stadium, and we go behind enemy lines as we welcome in the Giants play-by-play man, Bob Papa, next right here on The Fan.
It's the classic dilemma.
Giants, we go behind enemy lines live from Metlife Stadium. We welcome in Giants play-by-play man Bob Papa, the legendary man, joins us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Bob, happy footballing, sir. Welcome to another season.
Excited to be with you. Excited for tonight. The kickoff this season should be fun. Giants and Cowboys. Let's see if the Giants can actually beat the Cowboys on opening day. They're 1-9 against the Cowboys when they've met in the first game of the season.
Oh, wow. Okay. Odds are stacked against them.
Only time they beat them was 2019 was the only time that they've beaten them in their history, so on opening day. Plus, it's Sunday night. The Giants are not good on Sunday night football, so they got a lot of things to overcome.
Well, what stands out to you, man? There's a lot of change when it comes to some of the personnel on both sides of the ball. Big picture, what's most interesting about these Giants coming into this season?
Well, they've added a lot of team speed across the board on both sides, and Darren Waller is the big X factor. He's the first non-running back that other teams actually have to game plan for since Odell Beckham Jr. played for the Giants. He is a difference maker. He's going to open up things for a lot of other people, and it'll be interesting to see, what kind of impact he has as far as, just creating matchup problems for the Dallas defense and, more importantly, drawing attention, which frees up some of the other guys in the passing game for the team.
Well, Bob, one thing we know about the Giants is they don't have to change their play-by-play guy because they got one of the best ones in the league. But I will say this, though. When you start to talk about Darren Waller and his situation, we were hearing things from camp that he was catching 80, 90% of the passes thrown his direction. Was it that dominant a camp for him?
Yeah, he was really impressive throughout training camp, and one of the things that they've been so impressed with as they've gotten to know him from when they made the trade is his football IQ.
Right.
Dable just said, I'll just throw stuff at him during the course of practice, and he knows all the assignments for various positions, and he's a workaholic. Stays after practice every day, catching more balls. In fact, they had to slow him down a little bit because he was putting so much time and effort into it, but he really cares. He's passionate about it. He's very happy to be here. His father grew up a Giants fan, and his father used to work Giants training camp when they were in Westchester back in the 70s and early 80s. So he's got this affinity for Harry Carson and the history of the team, and he just seems very comfortable here and relieved to be out of Las Vegas.
Well, what's your comfort level with two rookie corners starting on the defensive side of the ball for these Giants, Bob?
Yeah, it's the first time since 1980 that the Giants are going to start two rookies in the secondary. Mark Haynes in 1980 started at corner, and they started a rookie safety. So they haven't done that since 1980. Look, they've earned the job. They've been fantastic throughout camp. They've been good in the preseason. They got a lot of snaps. But, you got to deal with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup. So that's going to be a tall order, under the bright lights. But they feel that, the coaches feel that they're up for the challenge. Listen, for me, the key to this whole thing is the run game. Last year, Ezekiel Elliott had 31 carries against the Giants in the two games. Pollard had 31 carries against the Giants in the two games, and the Cowboys ran for 330 yards between those two. And both of those games were one-score games. And if the Giants can't control the run, they're in for a long night, and those corners are going to be under a lot of duress because Dallas will stay in advantageous down and distance.
Well, Bob, is there a reason for optimism for the Giants that they've cleaned up their run defense a little bit?
Well, yeah, they signed Nacho from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they brought in A'Shawn Robinson. The Giants had no depth last year behind Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. They had zero. They had guys off the street because they were so salary cap stressed that they had to sign guys that were just there. They were guys that they were on minimum deals, and they just kind of rolled them in. And then they signed Bobby Okereke from the Indianapolis Colts to play the middle linebacker spot, who's fast, he's a run and hit guy, and he's a tackling machine. He's strong against the run. So they feel like they've addressed that situation. And then they added Jason Pinnock last year, who's going to start at safety along with Xavier McKinney, who's another sure tackler. So they feel like the improvements on the depth of the defensive line, as well as the addition of Bobby Okereke, is going to improve their run defense. Look, they were horrible against the run last year. They gave up 5.2 yards per carry. And that's one of the reasons why they weren't able to beat the Dallas Cowboys in either of those two games last season, is because when push came to shove, especially the Monday night game here when Cooper Rush was the starting quarterback, when Dallas had to run it, they ran it, and it just exposed the Giants defensively.
Bob, it appeared, though, if you watch tape of Kayvon Thibodeau and then also Ojulari, they got better as the season wore on. Did I see that the right way, or is that, or were they good throughout? And how were their camps coming into this game?
Well, Ojulari was kind of messed up last year. He had 8.5 sacks as a rookie, and during joint workouts with the Jets, he had pulled a hamstring last year, and his entire season never really unfolded. It took him a while to get back from that, and then when he finally came back from that, he injured his calf. So his season never materialized the way it was as his rookie season. And Thibodeau, in a preseason game here at MetLife Stadium, took on a cut block, suffered an injured knee, so he didn't start the season. He missed the first couple of games of the year, and it took him a while to get up to the speed. Of course, they both played better down the stretch, which enabled the Giants to go to Minnesota and beat the Vikings in that playoff game. They've been relatively healthy, not only those two guys, but the entire team throughout camp, so I would expect them to get off to faster starts this year.
Now, when it comes to Saquon Barkley, is this going to be – are we going to be talking about Saquon Barkley contract stuff this time next year as well? Or what's the status of that long-term, you think, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely. He's playing under the franchise tag. They sweetened it for an extra $1 million. So, he got an extra $1 million in incentives that he can earn. The thing about Barkley that's been really impressive is once he got that done and he showed up that first day of camp, he has had a smile on his face. He's not a disgruntled employee, so to speak. Remember, you guys are in Dallas and the Cowboys are a big thing. Obviously, being in New York, it's a pretty big market. And I think what Barkley realized is keep a smile on your face, go out and do your job, and things will fall into place. I mean, other than Aaron Judge and Aaron Rodgers, Saquon Barkley is the third biggest star in this town. So there's plenty of opportunities to make money off the field and make up lost income that he feels he should have. But he came into camp in the best shape I've ever seen him in. He has been absolutely fantastic. Obviously, he didn't play in the preseason, but he's been explosive. And, the Giants need Barkley because other than the first year or two that he played against the Cowboys, Dallas has really shut him down in the last 4 meetings that they've played. And the Giants need Barkley to be explosive just to have that complete offense.
Bob, the Giants are maybe some questions about what's going on inside at the guard spot. We're kind of hearing some things that maybe they've settled on some starters here, but how do you look at what's going on with the rookie center and then the two guard spots?
Well, the rookie center, John Michael Schmitz, who they selected in the second round, has been fantastic. He's taken pretty much all the reps throughout camp. He got extended playing time in the preseason. He's very smart. I mean, obviously, he's going to learn a few lessons tonight, but he does get to practice against Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, who are high-caliber players. So he's gotten tested throughout the course of camp. As far as the guard situation is concerned, remember, Dable comes from the Belichick tree. He also coached with Nick Saban. They believe in those guys being very versatile. Right. Can they play left guard? Can they play right guard? Can you move them over to center? So I think they're very comfortable, and I think they've just been kind of coy as to who's exactly going to start. I think they've kind of settled in on it with Glowinski on the right side and Bredesen on the left, but they feel comfortable with Azudu going in there, who's a second-year guy, and they really like to make sure people are cross-trained and not locked into one position.
Voice of the Giants, Bob Papa, with us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. How do they go about trying to contain Micah Parsons? And is that going to be one of the things you're watching for most, Micah versus Andrew Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Thomas, has done pretty well against him. And Parsons had the 2 sacks last year on him, but Andrew Thomas is obviously a Pro Bowl caliber player in his own right. The question is when they flop those guys and they put them on the other side, how's Evan Neal going to hold up? The second-year offensive lineman who the Giants drafted in the first round in 2022. Now, he has been much improved throughout camp. Against the Lions, he got some great one-on-one reps against Aiden Hutchinson when they had the joint practices. But, DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons are a whole different, kettle of fish, especially if they're both lined up on the same side over them. So I think the Giants will help. The one thing that they feel confident about is if they have to help on one side, that Andrew Thomas pretty much can handle things by himself on the other side.
Bob, thanks as always for the time, man. Enjoy the game.
Yeah, guys, have a great season, and thanks for having me.
Likewise. Thank you. There he goes, Bob Pop, Giants play-by-play man, as we go behind enemy lines, brought to you by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It is Miller time as we inch closer and closer to kickoff. We head back out to MetLife Stadium. We hang out with our quarterback, Babe Laufenberg, and Cowboys insider Bobby Belt, all coming up next right here on The Fan.
Dallas, the jackpots for Mega Millions, Powerball, and Lotto Texas are big and getting bigger every day.
season is ready and rocking and rolling, ladies and gentlemen, and we are fired up to be here. Welcome into the pregame party. We'll get you a Bobby Belt, Cowboys Insider, in a few minutes as well. Christy Scales on the other side, but Babe Laufenberg joins us right now. Babe, welcome to another Cowboy football season, sir. You got your quarterback goggles on. You head into MetLife Stadium, and you got a Wink Martindale blitz-heavy defense that is on the other side. What is on your mind right now?
Yes, you're exactly right. No one blitzes more than Wink Martindale. At least that was the case last year. I will say this. In the 2 games the Cowboys played the Giants last year, they did not give up a sack. However, you look at that second game, the Thanksgiving Day game, man, they were hitting Dak almost every play. So he is going to come after him. He's going to test you with the blitz package, some of which Cowboys will not have seen. Obviously, they're going to have some new stuff in, but no question, you're going to have to figure out a way to beat the blitz because you know he's coming.
Babe, with the situation with the Cowboys at left guard, and Udoka got the work all week, is that a point of concern for you, or are you okay the fact that it wasn't one of those late in the week injuries and now somebody's having to step in? The fact that Udoka's been there and got all the work, is that a better situation for the Cowboys?
Well, obviously better than if you found out today, the guy was sick or he can't go and the guy hadn't got any work. But obviously guys are starters for reasons. You'd certainly love to have Tyler Smith in there playing left guard. It's not going to be the case. As we well know, Giants have a couple of pretty stout tackles, so it's going to be a good test inside. He was injured himself during training camp, and I didn't think he looked great. How much of that was a byproduct of the fact that he kind of played through a little bit of an injury through camp, and we're going to find out pretty quickly, though, here.
Well, what do you think about this Cowboys team overall now here? 17 more games to change the course of history here, babe. Where's your confidence meter?
Hey, they're a really good football team. And I talked to a number of national people this week, and there's really not a weakness. Now, they're stronger in some positions, obviously, than other, but usually you go into a season, you say, boy, we're going to have to cover up for the corners, or we don't really like our safeties, but we're going to have to get by there, or the pass rush, we don't really have a pass rush. We're going to have to manufacture some things. They're good all across the board. And I thought the 2, biggest additions for the Cowboys were in free agency, where they shored up 2 areas where they needed to shore up, and that was corner with Stephon Gilmore, and then wide receiver with Brandon Cooks. And to me, both of them have been as good or better than advertised through camp. So I think those 2 guys, and I know everybody looks to the draft, Mozzie Smith, very unimpressive for me through the preseason. I mean, you strip off the number, and he looks like an undrafted free agent.
You're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm interested to see how much playing time he actually gets tonight.
Babe, when I'm Mike McCarthy and I'm getting back on that horse of play calling, do I look at getting into 11 personnel and making the Giants have to defend me with rookie corners? Or do you get in 12 personnel and say, well, I need to kind of talk about running the football more here? Which direction do you think he leans?
I don't know where he's going to lean, Brian, but you're exactly right. Brad Sham and I were talking in his room. We were watching some football today, obviously with a night game, and Bob Papa, who was just on, mentioned the fact they were the worst in the NFL. They gave up 5.2 a carry.
Right.
So you say, well, let's run the ball on him. But then you say, oh, wait a minute. They're starting 2 rookie corners, one of whom is a 6th-round draft pick. And then you say, you know what, let's throw the ball on him. So I honestly, I could see it going either way. Now, we've heard McCarthy talking about the fact that he wants to run the ball more. Right. That's kind of been the mantra of. But what's interesting to me there is the Cowboys had the 10th highest percentage last year running the football.
Yes.
Right? They ran it 48% of the time. Only 9 teams ran it more. You look at first down, and now RJ Choppy is, if he's listening, is just furious at this, but they were 6th in terms of running it on first down. San Francisco was 5th. So you think of San Francisco as a running team.
Right.
Well, the Cowboys were right behind them on first down in terms of percentage of runs. So, again, everything remains to be seen with McCarthy and how he wants to attack it tonight.
Well, we're watching a game right now, the Dolphins and the Chargers, and Kellen Moore is making it looks like Marty Schottenheimer's San Diego's Charger offense with the way they're running the football right now.
Little Marty ball.
What's the score there, by the way, guys?
It's 2017. The Dolphins are up, but the Chargers are knocking on the door right now. But
they just scored, actually.
Well, they're running the ball like there's no tomorrow is what they're doing.
Interesting.
So everybody getting on Kellen Moore about running the football. But I was going to ask you about this though with Dak, in his situation and all that. And do you feel like though with the new play caller that him and Mike, is it going to take a little time, or has this training camp has it been good for them to kind of get on the same page on some things?
I think it's going to take a little time. It's one thing to just get the play call in during training camp. So yes, you're hearing him in your ear. It's a different voice, but you haven't seen how they're going to attack it during the course of a game and the ebb and flow of a game. And I always say, to me, that quarterback and play caller are like the pitcher and catcher, where that catcher flashes a sign and that pitcher says, man, just what I was thinking, right?
Right.
So that's going to take time to develop. One thing about Dak, as we know, he's never going to say anything negative.
No.
Right?
No.
He is never going to say anything negative, which is why you like him. You like him in the building. You like him as your quarterback, because he's not going to say, hey, I'm not so sure about this. So, again, I think all that remains to be seen, how those two work together.
Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Now, when it comes to these Giants, what do you see from them? They made some moves in the offseason. Are they on the up and up?
I think they're better, but I don't think they're in the class of the Eagles and Cowboys. And to that point, against Philadelphia and Dallas last year, they were 0-5 because they played Philly, of course, in the playoffs.
Right.
They got smoked by Philly in the playoffs 38-7. And when you look at it, a lot of parallels people are making between Detroit, the Lions, and the New York Giants, how they both came, and Daboll was coach of the year. But when you study it, they were 7-2 to start the season, 2-5-1 to finish the season. So they were actually regressing as the season went on. They were the point differential. They were outscored by their opponents last year. They had the fewest pass plays of 20-plus yards. They also set a franchise record, and they've been playing football here since 1925, for the fewest interceptions last year.
Yeah, they were
with
bad.
All that blitzing. Yeah, usually that blitzing leads to, you're knocking the quarterback around. The guy's got to throw it before he wants to, and you end up with interceptions. They had 6. That led the NFL, by the way, in the fewest. Now, unfortunately, 2 of them, Dak played 1 game against the Giants last year. Remember, he was hurt for the first game up here.
Right.
He had 2 of those interceptions. And they only had 6 all year. So you don't like to see that.
No, not at all. But I know Babe Laufenberg is fired up for a backfield that features a lot of Tony Pollard, right? This is what you've been hoping for. A little bit more Pollard action.
Oh, yeah. But, again, there's a limit to that. Last year he averaged 14.5 touches, right, a game. And, that's going to go up to maybe 17, 18. But the notion that he's going to get double the workload, that's not going to happen. Now, I will say, too, Tony is a bigger guy. People treat him like he's a 185-pound running back. He's 215.
He's big, yeah.
217. Yeah. So it's not like he can't take a pounding. He's a good inside runner. Hey, they all get hurt, right? So you hope to get 15 games out of him this year. That'd be great. But, no, I'm excited about Tony. I really like him as a guy. That doesn't matter, but I think he's all about it. It's going to be fun to watch him. And, people talk about the lead back. Well, it really doesn't matter. You're still, when you're in the game, there's 11 guys on defense trying to tackle you. So when you come out there now, you don't say, whoa, I'm going to have to do something different because I'm the lead back. But excited to see him and excited in a way to see the package that they'll have for Deuce Vaughn.
Baby, speaking of packages, though, how do you think the tight end game will play out today for the Cowboys? So Ferguson, Hendershot, Schoonmaker. How do you see all that being used tonight?
I like them, but the notion that they're Dalton Schultz is going to be a better tight end than the guys they're going to put out there today. That doesn't mean that they won't be better in 2-3 years than Dalton Schultz was, but Dalton Schultz had the second most receptions last year, second most touchdowns, second most yards. I mean, he was a dependable, good tight end. I think they're going to miss that a little bit more than people think. And that doesn't mean that Ferguson and Hendershot and Schoonmaker aren't good players and aren't going to be good players. But I just think they're going to miss Dalton Schultz a little bit more than people think they will in the passing game.
Is Brandon Cooks set up to have a nice season here? I mean, I feel like he's about to. That's a great addition.
Love him. Yeah, I thought the Cowboys did a fantastic job to give up, a 5th rounder and a 6th rounder, and you get back Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks. And one thing, I always look at the older receivers, and he's only 30, but you hit 30, you start, can they still run? And man, Brandon Cooks can still run. And the other part, I don't know if we talked about this last week, but Brandon Cooks, as we well know, he's been traded everywhere. He's got 4 1,000-yard seasons with 4 different teams. Excuse me, he got 6, but 4 of them have been with different teams. And he's tied with Brandon Marshall. If he has a 1,000-yard season this year, he'll be the only wide receiver in NFL history to have 1,000 yards for 5 different teams. But every time he'd get traded, I thought, what's up with that Brandon Cooks? Is he a bad locker room guy? Is he this? Is he that? And I wondered, why do teams keep moving him on? And watching him do his work in off-season, in OTAs, mini camps, training camps, I still wonder why teams kept moving on from him because, man, he's going to be a great addition to this offense, no doubt.
Yeah, the speed jumped out immediately when we were in Oxnard. It was like, oh, yeah, this dude still got it. That's exciting. That's exactly what this offense needed was some speed.
And one thing is, when you look at a defensive tackle, let's say, and you don't really know until the game starts because its practice is just not geared to seeing if a guy can play defensive tackle well. But you look at a receiver and you say, hey, can they run, can they catch? He can still do both.
He absolutely can. Babe Laufenberg, you still got your fastball, sir. Thank you very much for the time. Enjoy the game tonight, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. There he goes. Babe Laufenberg, one half of your 2-man crew between him and Brad Sham. And, of course, the greatness of Christy Scales, Cowboys legendary sideline reporter, coming up in just a few minutes as well. We'll get the scoop from Christy, and that'll be fantastic. But we also have standing by our Cowboys insider, Bobby Belt, ladies and gentlemen. Bob, I hope you are doing fantastic, sir. I know you're excited for tonight's game. I'll ask you about Dak Prescott interceptions in a few minutes. But how nervous are you at this left guard spot? Because Broaddus is a little bit shaky over here.
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't have a key starter in your offensive line makeup. That's going to be concerning no matter which spot it was. If it was left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, whatever it would be, you don't want to be missing one of your starting offensive linemen, particularly a guy on the interior who plays with a lot of power and somebody that you hoped would sort of neutralize what is a really strong interior from the Giants with Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. And, the fact that Tyron Smith has been banged up this week, that doesn't help things. It just makes you really vulnerable on the left side. I'll be interested to see if things change at all, if they tweak the game plan at all. But, yeah, it's something that, of course, you have to note it. You have to keep an eye on it, but they are going to go. It seems like if Tyler can't go, they're going to go with Chuma Edoga, and that's the confidence in the veteran that even though I think a lot of us felt like TJ Bass maybe had a better camp at times at guard. Something coaches will always tell you is we want a guy who's not going to bust. We want somebody who's not going to bust an assignment. We want somebody who's going to be really assignment sound, and we'll deal with the rest. And I think they just feel good about that aspect with Chuma Edoga. But a big test for him tonight, no doubt.
Bobby, who has the better night? Mike McCarthy play caller or Dan Quinn play caller?
That's interesting. The guy who I think needs to have a better night would probably be Mike McCarthy, and the guy who's going to be in a position to, have to adjust a little bit to everything is probably Mike McCarthy. So, TBD, obviously, in terms of who performs better. But I think Dan Quinn's game plan has been affected much less than somebody like Mike McCarthy's would have been. So just in that sense, I think that Dan Quinn's going to be in more of a place of comfort with what he's trying to call and what he's trying to get done. So that would lean towards Dan Quinn, I would guess. But, Mike McCarthy, he's really excited for this opportunity to get back out there and call plays. And, it's something that he has spent all offseason kind of excitedly explaining to us and kind of giddy about. And so I know he's going to be really excited to get out there and call these plays, and probably welcomes a challenge of, I got to react to some of this, got to change some stuff. with the game plan, with the offensive line being a little unstable right now. And so, I think that he's more than excited for the challenge to attack it tonight. But, I think the defense is in a more stable position to do some of what they want to do. I don't know that this game tonight is going to be a good representation of what the Cowboys want to accomplish on offense throughout the season.
Bobby Belt with us here on the Fan, getting you set for Cowboys and Giants. So what about the offense tonight is most interesting to you? Is it the rushing attack, the way they're doing some new things that way, the addition of Brandon Cooks? What's the offensive outlook and the matchup you're fired up for?
Yeah, I mean, look, the forecast tonight is something to keep an eye on, see how that maybe impacts some of what they want to do. I will say the rain chances have steadily declined from earlier in the week and even this morning when we were looking at 70% chance of rain during game time. It looks like now it's more around 40%. And so conditions are improving in that sense. In fact, right now it's clear. We've got nice blue skies above. It's dry. Nothing, causing problems like that yet. But if the weather holds and you don't impact the game that way, you're not dealing with, a wet football or, slick turf and that impacting what you want to do in the passing attack, then I am really interested to just see how the Cowboys choose to attack these rookie corners for the Giants and what they're able to take advantage of, particularly if that left side of their offensive line is a little vulnerable because, they're going to need time to take some shots downfield if they want to do that. Now, a lot of the West Coast concepts are about, the 3-5 step drops and get the ball out and slants and some of the quick hit stuff. So I don't know that you're going to see a ton of downfield shots throughout this season anyway, but look, we honestly don't have a great idea. They've kind of been intentionally vague about what they want to accomplish. So I think that one of the things I want to see tonight is just how aggressive they are down the field, particularly when you're talking about going against two rookie corners.
Bobby, kicking situation, basically, Aubrey's, a vet from USFL days, but getting an opportunity, and they made a determination about him pretty early in camp that he was going to be the kicker. So how do you feel about his situation as we get into this game tonight?
Yeah, look, I mean, he was somebody that they felt really confident in. And I think that kicker is one of those positions on the football field that is most sensitive to, what's between the ears and the psychological aspects of it. And he's somebody who, as soon as they, kind of committed to him and said, you're the only kicker on the roster, this isn't a competition, you're the guy, go out there and prove it, he started kicking a lot better.
Yeah, he sure did.
And so I wonder if that was the Cowboys recognizing, hey, this is the button we need to push right here. He needs a vote of confidence, and if we give him that, we're going to start seeing the guy we want. And, he was impressive at times. He showed a lot of power in his leg, in the end of the preseason and was accurate at some of these practices, improved his accuracy as he took hold of that job. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Obviously, we've not seen him do it yet, and so we in a regular season setting, so we don't know exactly what to expect. But I'm cautiously optimistic. If it's a 1 out of 10 confidence level, I'd say I'm at a 6, ready to embrace a 7.
Wow, I love that. How about that? Bobby Belt, Cowboys Insider, hanging out with us here on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys. Defensively for the Cowboys tonight, of course, Daniel Jones with his legs, Saquon Barkley, Waller, we'll see the status of him. But what do you think? Last time, Micah was like, I want their best offensive lineman. I want to just dominate him all game, Andrew Thomas. Are you expecting similar, or what's the deal defensively?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that be careful not to underestimate what the Giants have in terms of their resources, what they're trying to build.
Yeah.
They can attack you with a lot of speed if they choose to run, those guys out there. I mean, if they really decide, hey, let's turn this into a track meet. Let's see if they can cover, Darren Waller at tight end, and let's see if they can cover Paris Campbell and Jalen Hyatt. That can stress the Cowboys for sure. And at that point, they're going to have to probably look to generate some pressure against this offensive line, which the Giants are slowly starting to kind of build up. They've got, a really great tackle in Andrew Thomas. They've spent a high pick on Evan Neal. They're hoping he takes a jump this year. John Michael Schmitz is a center they like a lot. They've committed to their 2 guards, at least tentatively, according to Brian Dable and Ben Bredesen and Mark Glowinski. And so I think that they feel like they're becoming more of a pass-first team, that they can get there. Saquon Barkley lost 6 pounds this offseason in an attempt to be more dynamic in the passing game. So I wouldn't underestimate what the Giants can do. But, yeah, just try to take advantage of whatever vulnerabilities might be in that offensive line and let Micah Rex shop and lean on what is a really strong set of corners you have.
Bobby, in the last minute or so, who creates the first Cowboy turnover tonight?
Oh, good question. Let's go with a Micah Parsons strip sack.
Ooh.
Not an interception tonight? We're going to get strip sack.
No, we're going strip sack.
Well,
man.
you said generated the first turnover. That's the first one.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be turnovers on top of turnovers.
That would
Brian.
be nice. No, that would be nice.
First interception of the season, we'll cheat. We'll say Diggs.
And who gets the first interception of the season for the Giants tonight?
What?
Well, I mean, the Giants aren't going to get one tonight.
Yeah, what are you doing over there?
So you don't have to worry about that. In fact, I mean, I don't know that there's going to be an interception thrown all year by Dallas, Eric. I mean, let's be honest.
Okay, it's bold prediction time, man. 'Tis the season. That's a dang good take. Bobby Belt, ladies and gentlemen, Cowboys Insider. Enjoy the game, Bob. We love you.
I love you all, and hook 'em.
And hook him, that's right. Oh, my gosh. I should have probably asked him at least one question about his Longhorns.
He's good.
I know he's feeling good about those guys last night. Same with you. Broaddus had his son, Bennett Broaddus, driving all the way from Austin to Tuscaloosa with his buddies. Yeah, check on him, see if he's made it back home. But I'm sure last night was football euphoria.
Yeah, well, I just got a text at 5:20. It said, such a long drive.
yeah, that ride there is all excitement. That ride home is just like, oh my gosh, when are we ever going to make it? I would imagine him and his buddies are just like huddled up around one of their cell phones or multiple cell phones, soaking in all the NFL red zone on their ride back home. I mean, if they're doing it 100% football correct and football appropriate on the opening of the 2023 NFL season. My gosh, I am so fired up that it's here. And we got Philadelphia right now in Foxborough taking on the Patriots 19-14. I'll tell you, it's been sloppy. There's been some rain, but the Eagles certainly don't look like the juggernaut that they looked like last year. And defensively, this is not a very explosive, or not supposed to be a very explosive Patriot offense, and they've moved the ball pretty nicely. So I think the Eagles got some question marks right now, and that's just kind of the way it goes. Week one, there's been some sloppy play, and hopefully the Cowboys can avoid that tonight as they get set. Cowboys and Giants coming up here on 105.3 The Fan later on this evening. Sunday Night Football at MetLife Stadium with the Cowboys. That is a beautiful thing. Let's get the scoop from Christy Scales, Cowboys sideline reporter, coming up next right here on The Fan.
Football season.
Live from Metlife Stadium. We're just over 90 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff, the opening kickoff to a Cowboy season 2023 style. How sweet it is. Bryan, Broaddus, myself, Eric Chiofalo. Let's go ahead and get Christy Scales from Metlife Stadium. Christy, welcome to a new Cowboy season. Are we going to get rained on to start this bad boy off?
Not to start off there. We've gotten very lucky because it was supposed to rain most of the afternoon and through pregame, but there's a chance for rain later in the evening, like after 11 o'clock Eastern, so we might get a little damp in the fourth quarter, but for right now, we've been very lucky.
Christy, any word of how the Cowboys are going to play up front? The Smiths, Tyron, and also, though, at guard with our other Smith, Tyler Smith. Anything you can report there?
Sure. Well, the inactives will be official in just a few minutes, but Tyron Smith will play at left tackle, but Tyler Smith, the left guard, will be inactive. So we're looking for Chuma Edoga, the free agent acquired in the offseason, to start at left guard. So only one of the starters on the left side of the offensive line inactive tonight. One thing that we were looking for, because he's been practicing for a couple weeks, but the slot nickel corner, Jordan Lewis, who such a terrific recovery from that really bad foot injury last year and started training camp on PUP. He will be inactive tonight, so we will not have Jordan Lewis tonight. We don't have safety Donovan Wilson, who's been out since the first practice of training camp with a calf injury. Donovan Wilson won't be active today. And then there's a few rookies that are not going to play tonight. These will be coach's decision inactives. Jalen Brooks is down. So that means that they're going with 5 wide receivers. It'll be Cavante Turpin, the 5th receiver, who, of course, is also your return specialist. We'll also have to wait for the regular season debuts of rookie defensive end Junior Fehoko and cornerback Eric Scott. But mentioning those rookies that are not active, that means that these rookies will play tonight. Fullback Hunter Lipke. Guys, are you surprised? Were you going into training camp? Would you have thought that he would be active for the first regular season game?
No, I don't even think it was on my bingo card, Christy.
But Lipke's up, and then, of course, the first 2 picks, first round, second round, Mozzie Smith at defensive tackle and Luke Schoonmaker, tight end in the second round. Deuce Vaughn, of course, will be active. I know we've been speculating how he might be used, what packages he'll be involved in today. And then Austin Richards, who's your 5th round pick from North Carolina, he'll be backup offensive tackle tonight.
Christy, if I could go back, and maybe it's an unfair question, has anybody talked to you about how they're going to use Hunter Lipke? Could he be the short yardage back or the single back or goal line back? Has anybody come up and said and given you an idea of the role he might play?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. And will they use him as a lead blocker? Are we going to go back and see some I formation with a fullback back there? So I am endeavoring on that particular question because it's something that we've been Brad Sham and Babe Laufenberg and I have been speculating on that. But he had such an outstanding 3rd preseason game, but we know that they're not going to use preseason what they're going to do in the regular season. But good for him being active today.
Do we have a little bit of an illness on the coaching staff tonight, Christy?
Yeah, so Jeff Blasco, who's the running backs coach, this is his first year as running backs coach. He previously had been the assistant offensive line coach, is actually on a leave of absence for health-related reasons. And so he did not make the trip. And what they're doing, Jeff Blasco has been up in the booth during the preseason, and he was in the booth previous seasons when he was the assistant offensive line coach. So to take his spot up in the booth, what the Cowboys are doing is they're taking the offensive line coach, the assistant offensive line coach, Ramon Chenyung. This is his first year with the Cowboys, and he had been on the sideline in the preseason. He assists Mike Solari with the offensive line. He is moving up into the booth, Ramon is, and he'll be the extra set of eyes upstairs. And he's a great story because 3 years ago he was coaching high school football. He's one of these Texas high school football coaches and just a terrific young man, and you should have seen him at the coaches clinic that the Cowboys hosted back in the spring. Just a fiery, fun guy. I think they may have to put some pads on the walls up in the coaches booth tonight because he is an energetic, loquacious guy. So I was joking with some of the assistants about how loud it might be up in the booth tonight, but in a good way.
Christy, you always give us the insight on the Green Dot guys tonight. Who do you got working?
Yeah, well, the good news is that one of the 3 is Malik Hooker, so that means that they don't think he's going to be limited tonight, even though he was added to the injury list yesterday due to illness. But it'll be Leighton Vander Esch at linebacker, and he'll be doing the majority of the calls. Of course, only 1 Green Dot helmet is allowed on the field at a time. The others, Jaron Kearse and Malik Hooker, if they were to take over the play calling duties, taking those calls on the radio helmet, they would have to come to the sideline and grab their particular Green Dot helmet. So it's Vander Esch, Kearse, and Hooker as your 3 Green Dots, relaying the play calls in the huddle of defensive coordinator Dan Quinn.
Wonderful. And what about the captain situation tonight?
Interesting. Who do you think the offensive captain is, guys?
Give me Zach Martin.
Zach
crazy?
Martin? Yeah, I thought somebody might say Dak. It's actually Tony Pollard. So his first game as the number 1 back. Tony Pollard is your offensive captain. DeMarcus Lawrence is your defensive captain. And C.J. Goodwin is the captain of special teams. And once again this year, Mike McCarthy is going with game captains rather than having season-long captains. C.J. Goodwin, of course, was cut from the 53-man last week, so officially he's on the practice squad active for this week, but that was one of those procedural moves so that they could keep a spot open for somebody else. There was no doubt that C.J. Goodwin would be playing in the regular season opener, and no surprise at all that he is the captain because he is the standard bearer for the Cowboys special teams.
Yeah.
Terrific coverage. Guy, one of the best in the league.
Oh, I'm sorry about that, Christy. In the final minute, is there something going on with sideline caps or something like that I was hearing? What's going on there?
We're here in New York, and of course tomorrow is the anniversary of 9/11. So players, coaches, and sideline personnel for both the Giants and the Cowboys, if they're wearing ball caps on the sideline, they'll have their choice of 3, but it's to honor the New York Fire Department. So you'll see FDNY, you'll see NYPD for New York Police Department, and as well as you see Port Authority as well. So if someone is watching on TV or see some highlights as they're listening to us and you see some of the ball caps on the sideline, keep in mind that tomorrow is the anniversary of 9/11.
You got it. Always appreciate it, Christy Scales, ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch up with you next hour, Christy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, ma'am. There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales. It's big, it's good, and it's only for Cowboys fans. The Cowboys special from Papa John's, a large one-topping pizza for only $9.99. Order today. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. If Broaddus was in New York getting set for this game over the last 24 hours or so, would it have been a pizza, a hot dog on the side of the street, or both?
No, it would have been. I would have gone with the corned beef sandwich.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good call. The delis.
I would have gone to a deli and got a deli sandwich.
No way your sandwich would be bigger than Evan Grant's sandwich.
Evan Grant, I think, was at Kat's Deli. I think he went to visit Kat's Deli, and Kat's Deli makes sandwiches just like that.
That was special.
Yeah.
That was a gosh dang good sandwich right there.
That was a really good sandwich.
What is on your Cowboy menu for the night as we approach kickoff, ladies and gentlemen? The 2023 Cowboys season getting closer and closer, live from Metlife Stadium. Sunday night football. Seems like we're always opening up the season versus the Giants. It just feels like that's just what the NFL wants it to be. And fortunately, the Cowboys have had really, really good success versus these Giants, especially with Dak Prescott, and on these Sunday openers. Only one out of the 10 have the Giants been able to win. So good news for our Cowboys. Let's continue to get you set for kickoff. Just over 60 minutes to kickoff number 1 of the season. Let's take a deep dive look at this game next right here on The Fan.
Radio Network is on the air.
Touchdown, Cowboys!
With Brad Sham, Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales, Eric Chiofalo, and Bryan Broaddus. Brought to you by
AT&T, the official partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. And by blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today.
Also brought to you by
Bill Nunnally, attorneys and counselors. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. Texaco. Texaco with Techron delivers unbeatable gas mileage. Texaco with Techron, driving performance. And by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza.
Now here's Eric Chiofalo and Bryan Broaddus.
The season is here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into another Cowboys game day, another Cowboys season, the 2023 edition. Kickoff an hour and 20 minutes from right now. Bryan Broaddus, a Super Bowl champion, riding shotgun as always. I'm Eric Chiofalo, and it's great to have you in the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Sunday night football, Cowboys-Giants, week 1, how it was always supposed to be. And we dive into the preview here. Broaddus brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys go to Metlife Stadium. They're looking at this Giants team with some new additions, but what do we need to know about this Cowboys offense tonight, taking on a blitz-heavy Wink Martindale Giants defense with a little bit of a situation going on the offensive line?
Yeah, we had Christy Scales on earlier, and she was kind of walking us through what's going to happen. Tyron Smith will play at the left tackle spot. Tyler Smith will not play at left guard. So that means that Adoga, who had been getting the work all week, will get the start at the left guard spot. The thing we were talking again with Babe Laufenberg earlier in the broadcast about. Here, it wasn't one of those things where all of a sudden where Tyler Smith was starting and then he's practicing all week and then something happens where he gets sick at the game. You knew that there was some questions about his availability. The Cowboys adjusted to it by getting Adoga ready, but Adoga is coming off injury himself, and so we'll see if how that he holds up. Hopefully, everything will be okay, but. That's really, that left side of that offensive line. We're kind of, you feel good about Martin and Steele, but now there's that question. And I just feel like in this game with the inside presence with Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence inside, that you're going to see Tyler Broaddus keep that left eye over on Adoga's side.
Help him out a little bit.
Yeah, he probably he has to know that that Zach Martin can hold his own over there on that right side. But maybe they'll need a little bit more help on the inside. And the thing I worry about is Adoga helping Tyron Smith in case stuff happens to him. I'm with Tyler Smith, rookie was a second-year player that has some power to his game, has some game experience to him. Adoga has played in the NFL, but like I say, his training camp was not one that gave you a lot of encouragement. When you watched him play, and a lot of it was at tackle, and it wasn't just Micah Parsons getting after him; it was others. And the Cowboys have a pretty good defense. So I just worry about that left guard spot a little bit.
Yeah, especially with new offensive line coach Mike Solari. And one of the things that they talked about this offseason offensively, some of the biggest changes they made are in regards to the pass protection and some of the calls up front. And so bringing in a guy who didn't get a ton of training camp repetition, throwing him at the guard spot versus a team that's going to be blitzing all night and trying to identify who's coming and where they're coming from, I think is a huge thing to consider. But is it similar when the Giants have the ball? Are you going to be looking at the interior of their offensive line and saying the Cowboys should be dominant there? Hello, Osa Digizua and maybe Tank Lawrence and guys like that?
I think so. I think that both teams, the team that wins this game tonight, it's so easy to always say it's going to happen in the trenches, but in this case, it really might come down to that. It might come down to which team better handles having to deal with defensive lines that are pretty good inside. I really do. I said earlier, I think that DeMarcus Tank Lawrence is going to have a really good game if they get into nickel situations with him playing inside along with Osa. Give me that opportunity. Give me that opportunity to have him play close to the ball, be near the quarterback. Those are the kinds of things I'm especially with if the Giants are struggling at center and they're struggling a little bit at their guard spots.
Yeah, and looking at the Cowboys now bringing in a guy like Brandon Cooks and some of the opportunities they're going to have here, a healthier Michael Gallup hopefully returning to form. I'm excited about Jake Ferguson and his opportunities in the passing game. And as we go inside the numbers here, brought to you by Papa John's, the official pizza of the Dallas Cowboys, better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. When you look at what the Giants are rolling out defensively on the outside, where they got 2 rookies at the corner spot, Trey Hawkins, 6th-round pick, and then the first-round rookie, Deontay Banks. They're going to be on the outside, and Adoree Jackson, the veteran, moves inside. Right. And 2 rookies on the outside is beautiful. And then as you look at the numbers on Adoree Jackson, he played under 10% of his snaps in the slot last season.
Right.
So he's not always a guy that is playing on the inside, and CeeDee Lamb lined up over 50% of the time last year in the slot. So that matchup right there is going to be interesting. I think that's huge advantage CeeDee Lamb, but I think it's advantage across the board when you consider rookies going up against Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup as well.
It will be on the Giants' pass rush, and it'll be on their coordinator, Wink Martindale, to create pressure. And how will they use, and really something we haven't talked about very much during the week is they made a trade for Isaiah Simmons, the just kind of multifaceted player for the
hybrid
player, but they never figured out how to use him. They never figured out how to use him at Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering what plan Wink Martindale has for him. Is he going to be a rusher? Is he going to be a guy that plays in coverage? Where does he fit in? Because there's a lot of things he could do. At Clemson, he was like a safety, a linebacker. He was a guy that was just all over the field when you looked at him as a player.
Yeah, just an athletic chess piece.
So yeah, that's
I got a feeling he's just going to be blitzing all night.
I have a feeling, yeah. Keep an eye. I believe he's going to wear number 19. I keep an eye on him for sure as where he shows up and where he lines up. He might be a guy that they determine, okay, well, let's put him over. Let's put him over, bring him through the middle, run games inside. Let's put him in the middle, or, oh no, let's do it off the edge. Let's put him and Ojulari on the one side, or him and Thibodeau to one side, and make the Cowboys have to determine which way they want to slide that protection. But he's a guy that we haven't talked about a whole lot, but he could be one of those X-factor players that the Giants use on defense in this game.
Yeah, he's a late offseason addition there, traded in the middle of the preseason for a 7th-round pick, but he's certainly a guy that you think Wink Martindale and a defense that likes to blitz a lot they'll be bringing Isaiah Simmons from all over the place. But the good news is when you look at the numbers on Dak and versus the blitz, like over the last 3 seasons, he's been Dak's 4th in QBR versus the blitz. And the Giants, they led the league in blitzing last year. They sent an extra rusher 63% of the time.
They had to do something. And Babe Laughlin-Berg mentioned this earlier. They did not create many turnovers through interceptions. So sometimes if you're not stopping the run and you're not creating turnovers with interceptions, you've got to do, Wink always is blitzed. He did it with the Ravens, but he realizes that there's some areas that he's just got to find a way to put pressure on these quarterbacks. And you mentioned Dak. Dak, when Dak sees the blitz, generally he's pretty good. He can make defenders have to pay. So I would anticipate, and I think Wink Martindale knows that. But they'll test early season. You want to test and see where this Cowboys offensive line is, with their protection, especially with them compromised there at left guard.
Yeah, for sure. Offensively, that's been all the talk. The offensive line, especially with Tyler Smith earlier in the week with the hamstring issue, and he is inactive tonight. So a lot of question marks there, but big picture for the offseason, here's a Brandon Cooks, here's a Jake Ferguson. So many fun things to discuss when it comes to the Cowboys and this outlook for this new season. They'll be on NBC tonight for Sunday Night Football. Mike Tirico calling the game with Sean and RJ on the Cowboys flagship earlier earlier this week on 105.3 The Fan, talking about what the biggest things NBC will be highlighting going into this game tonight from a Cowboys standpoint.
I think when you get into the micro of the year, right, and you start looking, okay, how are we going to deploy all these DBs? What's the impact of Gilmore going to be on Diggs, right, and the rest of the secondary as you move around, and how good they are, how many DBs are on the roster? This is like half a team of defensive backs here, right? So you got all that stuff that you always talk about. Offensive line health is a big factor, right, as you go into the year. How's Tyron Smith, can he hold up for a whole year? Steele coming off the ACL with the big deal. You got all that stuff, right? But at the big top of it is Mike McCarthy taking over the play calling. And what's this going to look like? Is it going to be more like we saw with Mike in Green Bay? Is it going to be something that leads to fewer turnovers and fewer picks for Dak? Because you go back through those picks, and several of those were his fault. He knows it. So his play's got to be good. And then if that's the big, bold one, the big, bold two is this running game going to be good enough? And that's not just offensive line. Tony Pollard's a good back. We know that. We saw him get 1,000 yards on less than 200 carries. It doesn't happen very often in the league. How good are they behind him, and how good will they be, not just for the Giants game, but for the rest of the season? I think this defense is good enough. I know this defense is good enough if it stays healthy. Will the offense be at that level? Will they be a better offense? They scored 27 a game. That's pretty good last year. Can they be just as good, if not better? Those are the two big headlines for me as I go into this start of the year for the Cowboys.
Yeah, Broaddus. I mean, Mike McCarthy now calling plays for the first time in quite some time. And have you gained some confidence after this offseason and going through the camps and Oxnard and then preseason? Have you seen some things that give you encouragement that, hey, this thing can work?
The encouraging thing is that they're going to do things that try to create separation for these receivers.
That's huge.
And now it will be on Dak Prescott to, if there is separation with these receivers from these defensive backs, can he be accurate enough hitting receivers on the move? The Cowboys can't go into these games leaving plays on the field.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a lot of this happen today in these early games that we've watched. As we're sitting through these games, I'm seeing open receivers for touchdowns being missed, down the field throws. I've seen a couple of interceptions where receivers or quarterbacks haven't seen defenders standing in the middle of the field. That just happened to Justin Fields in the Bears-Packers game for a pick six. So, yeah, it is going to be, the thing that encouraged me is the bunch formation, the movement, the ability to create separation with the receivers and these defensive backs, but it's going to be on Dak to make sure that he makes the Giants pay when there is separation.
Well, Mike Tirico went on about Mike McCarthy and some of the polish that maybe has fallen off of him as a top coach in the league. Here's what Mike Tirico had to say.
It's the way it ended at Green Bay, and when it ended in Green Bay, it was truly star-driven. It was Aaron, right? And then Aaron, after that, goes on and has his own individual success with MVPs. So you say, okay, well, was Aaron Rodgers' ability making Mike McCarthy a better coach? I think when you look back at it, it got a little stale, but it was not because of Mike's inability to coach football. And then Mike goes out for a year and studies the game and looks at it a little bit differently. And now he comes here, and it took him a year to figure it out, And you've got to be wired differently to be the head coach in Dallas, right? You've got to just kind of coach football, and you can't worry about all the other stuff. Think of the situation Mike went from. He went from the situation with the least involvement from ownership because of the ownership structure in the community and the board there in Green Bay to, if not the most involved ownership level, with Jerry holding the title of GM as well, but also the most public ownership. The one owner who does interviews in the locker room after games on Sundays. You go a year without hearing from owners in other cities. And you hear from Jerry on this station once a week. You hear from Jerry after the game on Sundays. That's all unheard of with every other NFL team. So what does that mean for the head coach? You got to figure out your place. So Mike's had to do that. I think that was an adjustment. I think Mike now understands, coach the football team, do what I can, do what I understand. And I think that's part of taking over the play calling. You know, if you're going to do this at age 59, I believe Mike is now, do it the way you want to do it on the football field and get the offense looking your way. When I was looking at cuts, right, I've got 2 games in a week here, and I did the Michigan game Saturday. So I'm doing 3 games in 9 days. So all I've been doing is like personnel for game 1, making sure you got all the right players. When I saw that the fullback from North Dakota State stayed on the roster, I said, okay, this is a Mike McCarthy offense now. You know, here's a fullback, and you're going to play him, and you're going to see him on special teams, and you're going to see him get a handoff here in the first couple of weeks. And it just feels like it's more of Mike's kind of team. I think you're going to see that as the season goes on in the play calling on the offensive side.
And speaking of Mike McCarthy, he is getting ready to be standing by with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, live from Metlife Stadium for tonight's Coach's Corner as we continue to get you set for kickoff. Cowboys and Giants coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Every moment, every touchdown, every yard is a reason to celebrate. If anyone knows that, Ciroc does. From the tailgate to the touchdown, Ciroc Ultra Premium Vodka makes game day a smooth one. And with flavors that never fumble, man, game day is an instant win. Touchdown! This is Ciroc, made from fine French grapes, made for football. Get Ciroc and Ciroc Vodka Spritz during the next Cowboys game. Please drink responsibly. Ciroc Vodka, 40% alcohol by volume, imported from France by Diageo, New York, New York.
Apply now to the University of North Texas Dallas Cowboys online MBA in Sport Entertainment Management. This unparalleled graduate degree combines UNT's high-caliber Tier 1 academics with the world-class business expertise of the Dallas Cowboys. Designed for the working professional with immersive in-person boot camps and online courses, the program can be completed in 12 to 24 months. UNT, a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Fly to Philly, take off to Tampa, depart for Denver. Following your team on the road is more rewarding with the American Airlines Advantage program. Your flights and everyday spend not only earn you miles toward your next trip, but also loyalty points toward Advantage status. All the more reason to purchase both.
Giants, Sunday Night Football, NFC East battle. We just had Jalen Hurts fumble the football in Foxborough. There's 3 minutes to go in that game, and it's a one-score situation with the Patriots having the ball on the plus side of the field. So we will keep you posted on what's going on with the filthy Eagles. We know the Commanders won earlier today. They scraped by versus the Cardinals. We just got word Waller is going to be active. He is going to be active with that hamstring injury. Not sure how effective he will be, but we know when healthy, he's one of the best tight ends in the sport. Is this just, hey, Dan Quinn goes up to J-Ron Curse and says, hey, that's your man, you just stay with Darren all night?
I think you have to start it that way, but I would mix it up a little bit with him. I just wouldn't let them get a beat on, okay, they're going to play with Curse on him the whole time.
Yeah.
I would try and mix some things up and keep the Brian Daboll and those guys guessing a little bit. Mike Kafka, keep them guessing a little bit of how you're going to. It's with no Jordan Lewis. You know, Jordan Lewis has always kind of been one of those mismatched players that we've seen back in the day. Remember, Byron Jones was a guy that was kind of a tight end stopper. I would think that Curse would be that guy, but I definitely mix some things up for him is what I would do.
All right, we go out to Metlife Stadium where the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, is standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy for tonight's Coach's Corner. Brad, take it away, sir.
Fellas, thanks very much. It's always exciting on opening day. Mike McCarthy's done a bunch of these now, but this is the first time you've resumed the role of play caller in a few years. But that aside for a minute, opening day, you feel different? You have a little more anticipation?
Oh, definitely. I'm excited for our team. I just have such an appreciation for how much the hard work they put in this. They're ready. I just want to see them be successful because they've they paid a price of preparation, and just like each and every year, you need to go out and get that first win and validate your your off season, your training camp, and get off on the right foot and take that big first step.
You talk a lot about September football. It seems to me to be truer every year. How do you know, the way preseason is now, that your team is ready when you start a season?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you got to trust your training methods, the information that you're able to achieve. And I think also just being in touch with your football team on where they are. This is we have a lot of young players on our league, but on our team, but we do have a strong presence of veteran leadership and veteran players. So, I feel really good about the path that we've taken because the competitive environment that we practice in, I feel very strongly it's gotten us ready.
Okay, how about the play calling part? Do you find a little extra juice today since it's the first game back, and you've made no secret of how much you enjoy doing that?
No, absolutely. I get to compete tonight. You don't get to compete as a head coach when you're, just overseeing everything. It's so get to compete against the defensive coordinator. So I'm looking forward to that. But more importantly, just being totally engaged with the offensive players, being in the meetings full time. Quarterback meetings, all that. I mean, I've done it for such a long time. It's what I love to do, and I've missed it.
The thing that every fan wants to know is, to me, inexplicable in this kind of time period, but how will fans know whatever's different about what you've done, what you've tweaked? How will fans know?
That's a great question. I think it's just like anything with offensive systems. The difference is in the details, which doesn't always show up in one play, one evening. It needs to show up over the course of a season. But once again, we didn't throw the offense out and start over. So we have built this plan for this year off of what we've done primarily in 21 and 22. So there's going to be some variation of what they have seen, but the foundation will be very similar.
You're in a better position than anyone to know exactly how the quarterback has adjusted to everything different that you've asked him to do and given him the opportunity to do. What's your estimation of how ready he is for this?
Yeah, I think Dax knocked it out of the park. I mean, just going back to the spring, the biggest change for him was in the protection, part of it, and the passing game, and I think he's done an excellent job of it. I mean, he's taken total command of the protections. He's always had responsibility line of scrimmage. He'll have more, is the plan going forward. And that's just really the reflection of all the hard work that he's put in and with the other players.
I have a technical question that I don't think is strategic, so I think I'm going to be okay. I've read that one of the facets of the difference in the offense is that the quarterback might be under center a little bit more than in the past. Is that accurate, first of all, or is that strategic?
That's strategic, yeah.
Okay, so then let me ask generically. There was a time last year, I know this because we looked up some numbers, that Dak was really better for a stretch after he got healthy under center. He had a higher QBR than he did in the shotgun. Why would that be? Is there something about the way he moves or sees the game or that kind of thing?
I think under center, just going back now, in fairness to my opinion, because that's what I believe in, and that's where my starting point has always been under center, because there's a rhythm and timing that comes in the footwork. You could play more to the rhythm and timing under center. Where in the gun, which these quarterbacks today grow up in it, there's so much of catch and shoot, and and the RPO world and things like that. So the rhythm and timing, there's more variance in it. Where when you're under center, the discipline of the footwork tied to the routes, it's I think it really helps quarterbacks stay in a better rhythm, in my opinion.
Okay. I don't know why it is that Tyler Smith was the last guy anyone thought would be the first guy to get hurt. Here we go. So Chuma Edoga, I don't think you got asked a question all of training camp about how's Chuma Edoga looking. Partly because he was hurt, he wasn't on the field a lot. So tell me what do you think? And he's been a tackle. I know you guys talked about him last year as a swing tackle. What does he give you?
Well, I mean, he gives us experience, number one, compared to the other guys. So, and he's played both guard and tackle. But yeah, definitely. I mean, he's missed some time in training camp. So, we've really had to expedite, his role for this week, and we have a lot of confidence that he'll step up and play well.
Are there things that you want to stay away from or do differently with him playing than if Tyler were playing? As a play caller.
Yeah, I think just like anything, you just with two things. Number one, it's the first game, so you always have more in the first game because you've had more time to prepare for it. We've had tremendous carryover from the installs that we did later in camp. So with that, it does give you some variation to go in different directions to absorb these type of situations.
You talked about being a young team with a real veteran presence. One thing that's been a little different this offseason is bringing in guys like Gilmore and Cooks. Can you just talk a little bit about what they bring, even maybe off the field?
I mean, they're veteran, established football players that have played at the elite level for quite some time in this league. So number one, I mean, we got, we've added, tremendous opportunity for high performance. So that goes without being said. And but gosh, they have just really have come in here and done a great job connecting with the locker room. So been extremely impressed with these guys, their professionalism and their personal connection.
All right, appreciate the time. Have fun.
All right, thank you, Brad.
There's Mike McCarthy. Fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad. It's certainly going to be all eyes on the Cowboys offense tonight. There's no question about that. We feel great about the defense, and there's small questions there for sure, but everybody knows this is a dominant defense. But offensively, that's where you got some new things to look forward to. And Ian Rappaport was on NFL Network earlier this morning, and he was relaying that the Cowboys believe that, of course, Dak is primed for a big season. And apparently Dak's super fired up for an offense that has more decisive reads, less ambiguity, a little bit more rhythm passing. And how about this one? More control over protection and more personnel groups to use it all in. Those are the two things that really stuck out to me. Like, okay, Dak having more control at the line of scrimmage, that's always a fascinating thing for me with every team. How much is the quarterback receiving a play call and then nixing it at the, once he gets to the line of scrimmage and changing up the plays, and how many quarterbacks actually have that? Lamar Jackson's an MVP quarterback. They're talking about now in this new offense, it's the first time he's really had any of that type of control. And it feels like they're putting a lot of control in Dak's hands from that standpoint, which he obviously likes. And then more personnel groupings. That's the other one that is exciting to me. The different personnel groupings, that's one of the things that sets apart a McVay and a Shanahan and a Doug Peterson, these offensive minds that they're always mixing and matching with the players and where they're putting them pre-snap. And I think we saw glimpses of that in Oxnard.
We did see glimpses of that, but the most important thing is we need to see, even by the way, New England with a great stop to get the ball back with 1:57 and one timeout, down by 5. But
hey, Philly's got a chance to botch this thing.
They did. They just tried to go for it on the New England 45 and got stopped. So anyway, we'll see if New England can get this thing home. But to your point, what I want to see, and I'm totally with you about the ability to, with the formations and the way that they use personnel.
Yeah, just having a different presentation to your offense.
Yeah, but I want to see are guys finishing routes. How many times last year did Dak Prescott get blamed for an interception where they weren't finishing a route? You talk about ambiguity and stuff like that.
You think that's what they're talking about?
Yeah, they're trying to help Dak not have to if they're
guessing.
Well, the word that we keep hearing from CeeDee Lamb is communication.
Word of the
offseason has been communication. And I feel like that when they went back and studied the Dak Prescott interceptions, there was some lack of communication going on. So you could tell me, hey, we got all these great new formations and all that, but whoever's running those routes, make sure you're running the routes that you're supposed to run. And if you're supposed to finish a route, or you're supposed to go inside, or you're supposed to sit down, or you're supposed to carry through a zone so somebody doesn't fall back and intercept a pass because you didn't run through the zone and carry a guy, then all this hocus pocus, hey, eye candy stuff, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't, and the word Stephen Jones likes to use is execution. If you don't execute the routes well enough in order or finish the routes in order to give the quarterback a chance.
Yeah, that's huge. And that's a great point by you, because there's only so much the coaches can do. And I think there was some meat left on the bone in these Kellen Moore, Jason Garrett offenses in terms of the route concepts and things like that. And you talk about wide receivers being able to create some separation. But there is definitely a fair portion where it's like, hey, the individual players got to understand what the deal is here. Yeah. And there were some times where there's CeeDee Lamb over the middle and he doesn't think the ball's coming to him. He's kind of chilling, and all of a sudden, boom, Dak's throwing it and it's an interception. And so I feel like they've talked about it so much that I've gained confidence that they've clearly focused on this as a detail they wanted to get cleaned up. But obviously, you got to see it before you can really fully believe it.
I love the fact that you're seeing more picks and rubs.
Yes,
and I want to see more of that.
Agreed.
Just because I feel like that officials won't always call that. They will let you get away with some crossing routes that if you're taking rookie cornerbacks through trash and they're not accustomed to playing through NFL trash.
Yeah, and NFL speed, too. Here comes Brandon Cooks with the turbo jets.
Exactly.
Gosh dang it, boys and girls. We're right around the corner here. Look at this. We are 45 minutes to kick off. I hope I did the math right. Either way, Sunday Night Football, Cowboys, Giants, Metlife Stadium. Let's get out to Metlife Stadium. Let's go into the owner's box with Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. Coming up next, Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
It's the classic dilemma at Whataburger.
Gentlemen, 40 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. Cowboys and Giants on Sunday Night Football. It is the official pregame party. Here's a season bowl prediction. We're about to get to Jerry Jones live from the owner's box, Metlife Stadium, with Cowboy sideline reporter Christy Scales here in just a moment. But I got Deron Bland. At the end of this season, we're going to be talking about Deron Bland's the best corner on this football team. Is that a hot take? That is hot, right?
Well, it's, we'll see how things work out for him. I like where you're going, though. I thought he had a quiet training camp. And I mean quiet because there were guys that were making some plays, and not that he was out of position or getting beat badly. But
just didn't see any crazy highlight.
Yeah,
there's Deron Bland making snags.
Yeah, he had a chance. I know one time there was a play where he had a chance for an interception where I was talking about the route didn't go vertical, and he just sat
on it.
Yeah, when Dak threw the ball and Dak didn't see him,
yes,
with the crosser.
Yes.
And so, that's kind of where I like what you're saying with Bland. I think it's one of those things that, to me, though, he had such a great rookie season that, boy, I'll tell you what, if he can improve on that, then
double down on it, Deron.
Double down on that.
Let's be the best nickel corner in the sport, dude. That sounds pretty good to me. And he was so good last year, as one of the best and biggest surprises of the team last year. I think there's a lot of guys defensively that are on the up and up. Coming in, it was Sam Williams for me. But now he's got the toe issue, and so you just wonder how that's going to affect him. But, he's just an alien athlete, freak show physically, and, having him and Micah Parsons wrecking shop in a front seven is just insane. I think Damone Clark is going to prove to be, a solid player. I'm not thinking game breaker like I think Sam Williams has potential or Deron Bland, but I think Damone Clark is going to cement himself as, hey, you're a solid starting linebacker for my team.
I think that I actually see Damone Clark being better. And I think there's going to be a time where we even look at him maybe playing better than what we've seen from Leighton Vander Esch.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. I think there are going to be some games where all of a sudden Leighton Vander Esch is not in there and Damone Clark is, and he's the guy that ended up making a play or two for you.
Let's go live to Metlife Stadium from the owner's box with Jerry Jones and Cowboy sideline reporter Christy Scales standing by. Christy, take it away.
And, of course, if it's primetime regular season opener, we're at MetLife in the big room playing against the Giants. And twice the treat tonight. It's Charlotte Jones and Jerry Jones joining us in the owner's box. And, Jerry, I know you just came out of the locker room. Does it feel different when it's a regular season opener in primetime in New York?
Yes, are you kidding me? You can cut it with a knife in there. That's an intense group. I saw our defensive coordinator. He was standing in the hallway there, and I said, well, I've got to figure out how to get by him and get out from in front of him. He's going to hurt somebody. So he's out there getting ready to go, and he's got our defense ready to go too. But, yeah, this is a big moment for us. It's a big moment for Cowboy fans, and nothing better to do it on this center stage right here in New York and on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, and Charlotte is the chief brand officer for the Dallas Cowboys, and I know that it's the NFL that sets the schedule, but I know you're loving this.
Oh, there's nothing better than opening in New York, seriously, right here with all these crazy fans. Everyone is excited. The atmosphere is tremendous, but everyone's focused. This is going to be a wonderful game. I know they're excited to really kick off the league and do it in the right way and come out here and make a statement, so we're all hopeful for that.
Jerry, we finally get to see Mike McCarthy take the wraps off the offense, and of course one of the big things in the offseason was how things will be different with him as the play caller, and obviously in preseason he's not going to show anything. What are you especially looking for and excited about tonight with him calling plays for the first time as a Cowboy?
How Dak Prescott plays, and so many things, subtle but important things, have had a little adjustment or maybe have really majored in adjustment. Dak will have more time to think about the play rather than think about the adjustments before the play's called. He should have more options to get rid of the ball quicker. The protections are going to be changed, hopefully for the best. All of this is for him to get more time, but more importantly for him to get rid of the ball. I think those are key things. The running game, see a little tighter splits in the offensive line, but hopefully we'll see some of the same. But a key to everything here offensively is what we can do to block it up real good. And then we've got some real speed out here. Deuce, our young rookie, and we just need to get the ball deliberately in those hands with checkdowns, things like that from Dak.
But I want to ask you about the offensive line because you mentioned protection is so important. We know Tyron Smith is going to play even though he missed some time this week with an ankle injury in practice. But having Chuma Edoga start in place of Tyler Smith, what are you expecting with that left side of the line tonight?
Well, I think we're going to see Chuma benefit from his experience. He's a veteran of 4 or 5 years. He should be able to come in and for this year, for this training camp, hit the ground running. So we're lucky to have him. We're going to have Bass that will get some reps in there real good, and he should. And so the big thing is in the offensive line, you have to have depth, and you have to have position flex. In other words, the guy's got to be able to play something other than the tackle or the guard to make it all work. We're getting to see that right off the bat here at the left guard spot. Always a little intrigued to see what it looks like. I'm anxious to see that.
I want to ask you, Charlotte, about Tony Pollard. He is the offensive captain tonight, and we saw at training camp, we saw a lot more 20 jerseys out there, and him as the lead back. You just talk about, I guess they're flying off the shelves at the pro shop, but just what do you think it means for a person like Tony Pollard to be in the spotlight and representing the Cowboys brand as prominently as he is now?
Well, it's Tony's time, and he certainly had a great year last year. That's why he's where he is today. The enthusiasm behind him and support of him, you can look around, as you say, and you can see it. You see the numbers in the stands, and it's really a great opportunity for him, and I think he's really going to take it and run with it.
You mentioned, Jerry, earlier about defensive coaches and Dan Quinn being so excited. I'm not asked you specifically about defensive players tonight, but Micah was just such a terror in training camp. But what are you particularly looking forward to seeing with your defense in the debut tonight?
Well, I think we're going to be very aggressive. We're going to try to put a lot of pressure out here. By the way, that's the way they play too. The Giants do too. So that'll be quite a challenge. But we're going to see that us try to execute with pressure. What that does is you need a Leighton Vander Esch that knows how to have everybody lined up where they're supposed to be so that when we do that pressure and leave ourselves a little weak if we don't get to him, we've got another guy right there to cover that hole up. That's Vander Esch. That's coaching. That's all of those things. I feel as good about this defense as I have since I've been a Dallas Cowboy.
Can't wait to kick it off. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Charlotte. That's the view from the owner's box here at Metlife Stadium. And as we get closer to kickoff and prime time between the Cowboys and the Giants, let's turn things back over to Eric and Bryan.
Thank you so much, Christy. Tonight's view from the owner's box brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. It is Papa John's. And now as we get to know the enemy here, Broaddus. Oh, you got something. Hit me.
No, I thought it was interesting. He brought up Bass's name. And I was kind of thinking it could be an Edoga full-time situation.
Okay.
The fact that maybe they're thinking about if something were to happen, or maybe
short leash.
Yeah, short leash maybe, or if they want to maybe get Bass some opportunities. I didn't think that they would sub out in game one, but maybe they will. The fact that Jerry mentioned that, something to keep an eye on, because I don't think Jerry's coming up with his own. I think the coaches are kind of telling him what the plan is.
Beautiful. I appreciate that nugget. Thank you, Bryan Broaddus. All right, now as we get to know the enemy here, brought to you by Arrow Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys. You know, I think one of the biggest X factors on this new look Giants offense is, you know, they're gonna try and take some shots. They lacked explosion offensively last year in a huge way. Of course, Waller's the headliner, but with him being a little bit banged up, I'm looking at Jalen Hyatt, the rookie out of Tennessee, third round pick. elite speed. No joke kind of speed. They're going to take some shots, and I think he could be an X factor for their offense. But I'm excited to see Diggs and Gilmore, Bland being the guys that are covering them.
The thing that I'll be real honest with you about is Hyatt will outrun both those guys. So if all of a sudden you see them max that thing up where they keep, maybe it's not keeping Waller in, but Bellinger, or maybe Waller does stay in, but they max that protection up, they're going to take a shot on Diggs to see if he can run with. And I'm going to say this, I don't think either Cowboy corner, this is going to be up to, again, a guy like Malik Hooker to be able to play and keep his eyes and understand if he sees number 13 for Hyatt, maybe he needs to shade over that way a little bit, because there's about to be a vertical 9 route coming right at you. And so it's going to be on Hooker and it's going to be on these corners, but Hyatt can outrun either one of these guys.
We're 30 minutes to kick off Cowboys and Giants Sunday Night Football. Let's go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. Coming up next, you're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Away from the start of the 2023 Dallas Cowboys football season, we go inside the booth live at Metlife Stadium and welcome in the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham, brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Brad, as you look at this Giants team, how much better do they look on paper to you right now than they did last year?
Well, better going in. I mean, at the beginning of the year, they didn't look as good on paper as they did at the end of the year on the field. And that's kind of the nature of the sport. But I think that they had some weak spots, and they moved to address them with personnel, particularly on defense and the defensive interior, in the line, couple of linebackers, and then the addition of Waller, the tight end. I mean, he's a guy that just gets your attention. I couldn't believe that they got him, and I was chagrined when I read that. So, I mean, they're better. Plus, they're in the second year of working with the staff and with Daboll, and so yeah, I mean, I think they're better than they were a year ago.
Brad,
on paper.
Excuse me, I didn't interrupt you there. Is there any crystal ball thoughts about what you might see from Udoka at left guard? I say that because Jerry with Christie brought up the name T.J. Bass, and I kind of felt like, man, maybe we won't see Bass tonight. But have you got any thoughts about how that might play tonight?
I think it's Udoka's game. I mean, there's a lot to like about Bass, but I don't know if you just go in there and handle Dexter Lawrence. Why don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Game?
Yeah.
You know, Udoka's been in the league now. He was a tackle. He's had injuries most of the last couple of years, and he didn't have a snap at guard in Oxnard, and he didn't have many snaps, period, because he was hurt. But he's there. I would say, you know, your alternatives to him essentially are Richards and Bass.
Right.
And so I think Udoka is the best option. And he being a veteran, you know, who knows? If they put Dexter Lawrence on his nose and say just go mess with him, it might not be pretty. And so, and I think I asked McCarthy this in the pregame, does that affect the play calling that you will have to do?
Mm-hmm.
And he said yes. And so, I mean, obviously you're going to have to change protections. You're going to have to run to a different spot. You're going to have different, quicker drops and releases. And but that's part of the game. You know, everybody's going to have people hurt throughout the year, but I don't think, Brian, and I was there all but 3 days of training camp.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I never heard anybody ask him a question about Chuma Udoka.
Nope, not many. Not many at all.
When you look at this Cowboys defense, Brad, the addition of Stephon Gilmore, obviously Micah Parsons now being the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year. Jerry's calling it the best defense that he can remember since he's been a part of the organization. Do you get those vibes that we're looking at maybe one of the better all-time Cowboy defenses?
Well, now think of what you just said there, Eric.
Fair enough. Since Jerry.
Because he said since he's been here, and then in the history of the team, you know, they had like the Doomsday defense. They had, you know, Lilly and Jordan.
We were pretty good before
that
1989. Yeah,
a couple of times. You know, Randy White was not so. I
got
think
respect
that on
for 60s football. I really do.
Well, it doesn't matter if anybody has any respect for it or not. It existed. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who are under 45 years of age who aren't aware that things happened before they started paying attention, but that doesn't mean they didn't. I'm not talking about you. Some guy put something on Twitter this week that got under my saddle a little bit.
It happens to me all the time.
I was hoping it was about Eric, Brad, to be honest with you.
It was not about Eric. It was not about Eric, but I do. Eric, I think this. On paper, I mean, we're just starting, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
On paper, I do think it has the potential to be one of the better defenses they have had in the time that Jerry has owned the team. If you think of the teams of the 90s, they played on the field better than they were on paper. And so this team, I think, has some exceptional players in Parsons and Lawrence and some above-average players elsewhere in the line. And I think that Van Der Esch can be way above average. We'll see if Clark doesn't match that. The safety play is really good, and Gilmore and Diggs, I think, give him the opportunity to be exceptional. So I understand where Jerry's optimism is coming from.
Brad, we saw a lot of kind of ugly football by offenses today. Is that because of the preseason stuff, or it's just because that's where we're at right now with the way that coaches try and protect their players?
You know, when McCarthy first started talking about September football a couple of years ago, I thought, what the hell is that? What are you talking about? They play football in September every year. But I understand what he means, and I've come around to agreeing with him. But it starts, Brian, in my opinion, it starts with the CBA that was passed in 2011. It reduces the number of practices they can have. It reduces the times that the players can be with the strength and conditioning people all through the calendar year. And as a result, now they have the rules about Babe wishes he could have played under these rules where they can you have to have a nap.
Sure.
You have to put your mat out with cookies. You can only have them X hours a day. And, it wasn't that way when you were with any of the other teams that you have been with. But for these guys, it's what they know. But I think that it's so ragged in the real games in September because how can you dare really risk someone?
Right.
I was talking to C.J. Goodwin the other day, and he said, he thinks special teams are going to be good. Takes a little time to come together. And the subject of DeMarvion Overshone came up. And Goodwin said, he was going to be our star.
Yeah.
He was going to be our star. And you had to have him on the field. It was the second preseason game. But now you see why they don't put Parsons and Prescott and those other guys. And if you don't play football, I don't know how you get better at playing football. So I think the September football thing is real. I just think it takes a little time.
Thanks for the time, Brad. Enjoy the game.
Okay, boys. Thanks.
Yes, sir. There he goes, voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. And now we get the keys to the game from Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy, where are we at from a weather standpoint?
Well, just under 10 minutes ago, I'm not saying that it's raining hard, but the animals are lining up 2 by 2 outside the concourses of MetLife Stadium. 82,500 is the capacity here, and I'd say about 60,000 of them are in the concourses right now because it started raining really hard. It was a little bit of a spittle, just a little bit of a drizzle going on late in the warm-ups, and just as the teams were leaving the field, man, it has really opened up. The unfortunate part of that is that as the specialists were going through their work, and by that I mean the kicks with Brandon Aubrey and Bryan Anger as the holder and our new long snapper Trent Sieg, they didn't get to practice any of this in the weather. Now, of course, on the sidelines, the guys who handle the footballs, they'll be using towels to try and keep the footballs dry when they throw them in for offense, and the K-balls for the kicking game. But weather is it's really wet right now. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably coming down at about a 7.5 or an 8 right now.
Christy, is that something that's going to be throughout the game or just early in the first half?
Yeah, what I saw is for the what I'm getting it is by the hour, so 8 o'clock hour. So hopefully it'll lessen up as we hopefully get into the second quarter here. And then again after 11 p.m., again East Coast time, that's Eastern, we're going to be going till about 11:20 or 11:30 tonight, and another higher chance of rain once we get to the fourth quarter.
Christy, that place has a history. Well, the old building had a history of swirling winds. Is this one of those places that's is it a little bit windy with the storms involved?
Not anything like old Giant Stadium.
Right.
The one thing is it is warm, and we don't have any breeze. In fact, those orange flags atop the uprights are just hanging limply right now.
Okay.
So we'll have to contend with footballs being wet, but not with any of the swirling winds, at least so far.
All right, Christy, keys to the game. What's the one thing you feel like needs to happen?
I just can't wait to see the kind of game that Mike McCarthy calls tonight, and I think they're going to take some shots against those rookie cornerbacks and test them. And then on defense, if Mike is anything like he was in training camp, man, he's going to wreck it. So just getting the pressure on Daniel Jones, and I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Yes, ma'am. Likewise. Thank you so much, Christy. Enjoy the game.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
There she goes, Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales with your keys to the game. That means kickoff is right around the corner. It's prediction time, sir. I need a season prediction out of you, Broaddus, and a game night prediction as well. Is this Cowboys team winning the division?
I think it's going to finish 11-6. I think it's going to finish second in the division.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with a Cowboy victory tonight, though, 26-24. I've said this on a couple different platforms. I kind of feel like Dallas is going to have a 4-minute drive at the end of the game to maybe kill clock and kill this game. Not to kick a game winner. They're going to be up, but they're going to have to be able to run the ball, move the ball, maybe get 2 or 3 first downs to kill this Giants game.
Beautiful. Give me a Cowboy victory, 23-16. I think the defense is going to be able to lock down this Giants offense, especially with some inclement weather. Micah Parsons is just going to be dominating Daniel Jones and company for 4 quarters. It's going to be beautiful. Cannot wait to see this offense. Cannot wait to see this team. Brad, Babe, and Christy got you the rest of the way. Walchuk and Broaddus will handle the halftime duties. But coming up next, a Cowboys season starts. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap.